Hello and welcome to the regular Tuesday edition of Spurs Diehards TTID, Tottenham Till I Die. Tonight we'll be discussing the FA Cup draw, we'll be discussing Bournemouth, we'll have a brief discussion about transfers, a bit of discussion about Ange's tenure at this club. But first I want to welcome our guests and then Mark will go through the chat and we'll start. So Sean, welcome, making your debut with me anyway on this show. Good to have you. Been looking forward to getting you on the show.
Good to be here, mate. Is it my debut, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Wow, man. Long overdue, buddy. Obviously, I've been out of town for digitally speaking for 9 months or whatever. So, wouldn't surprise me, man. But yeah, thanks for the invite. Good to see some old familiar faces and friends in the panel as well. Good to see you all.
Good to back, Sean.
We'll go to Colin before we go to the ranks. Colin, how's things where you are?
Good. Cold. It's cold around here. I'm sure it's cold there too.
Cold? What's cold in America? Tell us the temperature. Come
on. So it's 27 Fahrenheit. Let me see what that is in.
Oh, that's below. That's 32.0.
So we're -3-ish here today.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, that is.
Well, I hope you're well. Yeah.
But yeah, everything's good. Getting celebrating. Getting ready to celebrate Christmas. So putting all the ornaments up and decorations, and yeah, it's nice, it's cozy. But I hope you're all well as well.
And Mod Soren, how are you?
Yeah, all good. Obviously, still down a little bit from the Spurs results. But yeah, good. And good to see Sean back. And hope you had a good Thanksgiving as well, Cole.
Thank you, buddy. Yeah, it was lovely.
And Mark, fellow co-founder Mark, how are you?
All is good, Adrian. All is good. I'm very jealous to Colin that he gets an extra Christmas dinner on Thanksgiving. You know, Christmas dinner is the best, obviously. But
Mark, you can just go and get like a turkey early in November if you want and have a second one. There's no rules saying that you can't have one.
Well, yeah. Obviously. That's an idea, actually. Well, no, I always wait till January when they're like cheap.
Cheaper, nice.
Yeah. They're like knocked down, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mark, if you want to go through the chat, then we'll start.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Ellie's here.
Big up, Ellie. I hope you're feeling much better, Ellie.
Hope you're getting better, Ellie.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Graham.
What's
friend
up,
of the show, Graham.
Yeah, that's it for now. Big up, Graham. Thanks for sending me the music earlier.
Okay.
Very enjoyable.
Right. We're going to discuss this first, the FA Cup draw debate, yeah? We got Tamworth away. These are interesting fixtures I put there. I couldn't get Aston Villa and West Ham on here, but I'm not too bothered about that. So, as we're away at Tamworth, good draw for them. They're in Staffordshire. Then Arsenal got Man United, Man City, Salford, Liverpool, Accrington, Stanley. I spelled Accrington wrong. We all remember the old milk advert with Accrington, Stanley, with the Scouse kids, yeah?
Who are they?
Yeah, of course.
Are they? Exactly.
Yeah.
Chelsea, Morecambe, where we played Morecambe. We only beat them 3-1, I think. Millwall, Dagenham and Redbridge, another good one. And Leeds Harrogate, another local team for them. So, comments on the ties other than ours? We'll come to ours last, Sean.
Yeah, I think it's a decent little third round draw, to be honest. A couple of, there's some other nice ones that you didn't have room for there that are like League One. I haven't got it in front of me, but I remember looking at it going, some spicy little ones down in like League One and Championship teams that are all like ding dong next to each other, I think. Geographically, although some of the my geography is not as good as other topics of my education, for sure. In fact, it's terrible. I thought Tamworth was in Bristol. But anyway, glad I didn't get a ticket. Otherwise, I'd be driving 2 hours in the wrong direction. But I think it's Arsenal United. I would have preferred to have seen that at Old Trafford. I think that there's a nice one. That Millwall Dagenham looks like it. I mean, I don't know. You wouldn't want to be caught in the wrong tunnel or the wrong alleyway after that game. I think there'll be a little bit of there'll be some blood spilt on that evening. But yeah, look, it's a nice one. It's what you want to see, right? I'm so happy for Tamworth. I'm sure everyone saw on Twitter they were recording the Tamworth in the Tamworth whatever you call it, the bar in the club. They had all the kids, and the second the draw came out, those kids, by the way, like sharp as a tack. Within 30 seconds, Tottenham get battered everywhere they go.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very good fun. Good banter. No, it's good. Cheers, AJ. It's good. Nice draw, and obviously a good one for Tottenham. Obviously, I don't think there'll be a banana skin, but worse things have happened, right? And
don't even.
You could almost see that. You could almost see that. Do you remember Caledonian Thistle? That Sun headline was "Super Cali go ballistic as XBR." Whatever it was, are atrocious.
Celtic are atrocious. Yeah.
You could almost see the one like Super Tammy go ballistic as Tottenham are atrocious. You could almost see that being written now, and you hope not. God,
it is an away game. It is an away game. Let's get that.
And the pitches at like a 9%. Like I struggle on my when I go for a walk on the treadmill. I have that 5% incline and I'm out of breath, and the pitch apparently is on a 9% slope. So
wow, I hadn't heard that. That's crazy.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, apparently it's a sloping pitch. Yeah, it slopes pretty steep into one corner.
That's like my hometown. My hometown used to have a slopey pitch.
Yeah.
Warren, the old Man City Salford, the Neville brothers have got something to do with Salford. They either own it or part own it, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. But it's nice to see City have got an easy draw after being battered for the last 7 matches.
We set the rot in there, didn't we, with the League Cup?
Yeah, obviously it's nice just to give them something where they might be able to get a game together and stop Pep from harming himself.
His job.
Are you, Colin? Are you familiar with any of these teams apart from Spurs, of course, and Arsenal?
Morecambe. I remember, that we've played them in the past. Millwall. We have a player on loan at Millwall, correct? Or was that last season?
What's his name was the player that went out to the centre back?
Yeah. Yep.
He went out to Germany. Didn't play a minute.
When Spurs went to Marine, Mark, when Alfie Devine got his first goal in a Spurs shirt as a 15-year-old, if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
I mean, the Spurs fans went in their shop and virtually were buying out all their stock, to give them a bit of a boost, like.
No one. That was COVID. Was that COVID times? Because the tickets, it was COVID times because the tickets, there was no one at the ground, but Spurs fans, their ground only held about 7,000.
But they bought virtual tickets or something, right?
Yeah, and it was all virtual tickets, and I'm sure that I think the Spurs fans bought 40,000.
Wow!
I know the money they made out of that game set them up for 2 or 3 years.
Against Marine.
Yeah, that was a Marine game.
Wasn't that the one when
that was COVID?
The striker that we had on loan, Carlos Vinicius, he scored a hat trick.
Yes.
And he celebrated like hell every single goal.
And all of them were Tommy Tappins. They were all like every goal that he scored had an XG of 0.95, whatever. And he's got an XG of 0.75, and he was going, "I go yes."
That is because on one side of that ground, if the ball went out of play, it went in someone's garden.
That's right.
And there was people on step ladders peering over their fences at the game. Because
they've gotten away with the return legs, that there's no, that they don't get to come play at our ground, and that's a bummer for me. But
yeah,
I'm sure, Soren, we're all liking Arsenal, Man United because one of them are going out, right?
I mean, knowing how, no, probably not. Somehow, there'll be some stupid thing, but yeah, well, I'm going to say it makes a difference which one it is, really, does it? Because neither of them are teams we really want to play at the moment, but
no, you want Arsenal to go out, 100%.
Well, you do, but Man United are playing quite well at the moment, aren't they? So
yeah, but you still want Arsenal out, right?
Not
just about us playing. You just want Arsenal out of the cup, right?
I'd rather we knock them out. But yeah, I suppose if you're gonna have one, you'd want United to go through and absolutely batter Arsenal. And maybe, if United go through, it maybe gives us a better chance in League Cup.
Well, the League Cup's before that, and it's the 29th this month. These games will be played on Saturday the 11th.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So unless wait for the TV companies to push their way. You know what I mean? There might be a few of these times and days might even get changed. But all depending now. I mean, there's no Christmas break this year, so I don't know what the fixture schedule will be like over the period.
I bet we'll be on.
They'll highlight all the games because these are the BBC cover the FA Cup. I don't know.
Yeah. No, but we'll be on. Definitely.
Yeah, we'll be on.
But because they always stick a non-league team on, don't they? Especially if they're at home.
Yeah, they need the money.
It could be City Salford, couldn't it?
Sean, do you think Tamworth would be tempted to switch the tie to make more money?
I don't think you can. I'm not sure if. I mean, yeah, I think they would. Yeah, of course. You still have 45,000 at Tottenham. And of course, they'd make half the money, right? I think that's the rules, isn't it? You make half the gate receipts. But I don't think you can just swap it because that would send a really bad. I mean, obviously, yes, finance, but it's not all about finances, is it? It's me saying that. He's always talking about finances, but it's like in terms of the FA Cup, like you have to respect the draw. Otherwise, the draw isn't worth anything if the big teams will always get the home tie, even if they don't get it. So I don't think they can just swap it unless there's some reason regarding policing, or if there's too many teams from the local area are all drawn at home at the same time. I think that there might be some wiggle room within that because of policing issues and stuff. But in terms of just out of the, for financial benefits, I don't think you can just agree to shake hands and make Tottenham play at home. I mean, but obviously, what Tamworth would love would be a draw, and then they get the double bubble, don't they?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any replays. There's none in the League Cup.
Oh, there's no replays anymore, is there?
I don't know. I'm not. Okay. I can't recall at the moment. But I'm just wondering if the game was at Spurs, would the TV companies come in with a bigger amount of money than if the game's at Tamworth, or would it make no difference whatsoever? And then
I think it's on BBC, right? So the BBC, I think, have got they can't.
So they get the same.
The broadcasting revenue is already predetermined. It is like they get the teams that get televised get X amount.
£3, yeah. So that's it.
And it mostly goes to pay Gary Lineker, his settlement.
Even though
but I don't, to be honest, I'm speculating. I'm not fully versed up to speed with the rules around replays and stuff, so I might be wrong on that. So don't just.
Well, I hope these clubs here, some of these clubs here, we know the less recognised clubs, the less wealthy clubs, I hope they earn a fortune.
Yeah.
Right. A little bit about Tamworth. Tamworth are based in Tamworth, Staffordshire, England. The club competes in the National League, the 5th level English Football League system. A bit more because I can't. Tamworth have played at the Land Ground since 1934. Their manager is Andy Peakes. Best they've ever finished is 15th in the conference, national level 5, 2 and 4, 5. Best FA Cup 3rd round. They're the dates, Best FA Trophy runners up to Best FA Vase. They actually won it after
They did.
3-0.
They did. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's about it. If anyone else want to add anything about the FA Cup?
Going to win it.
It is. I've just come off a stream on Savas, and like you can become like a bit of a chameleon. Like you kind of fit your narrative, or it's a little bit easier on certain channels to say things that you maybe wouldn't say on other channels, just because like there's certain vibes and things. I found myself really piling in on Ange a little bit on that show, and I genuinely do mean everything I said. I just probably found it a little bit easier than I would normally find it to say it, and at the same time, having said all that, I said in my video this morning, when I went out for a walk, that there's absolutely no reason why we have any reason to fear anybody in any of the cup games. We are capable on our day of beating everybody. Well, obviously, we're also capable of letting ourselves down. But in the cup, we're still in all three, right? And it is a nice first draw. It's a romantic tie. Obviously, there's a little bit of banana skin, but you'd hope that we would measure up to it. It's a nice opportunity to play players like Will Lancashire and Jed Spence. It's a nice opportunity to give them a run out, get them some confidence. And ultimately, you're getting rid of one of the big boys in United or Arsenal. One of them are going to be gone. And then you hope that you get a little bit of luck in the following, the 4th and the 5th round with a couple more big matchups that knock each other out. And before you know it, Tottenham are in hopefully they've qualified by right into the Europa Cup last 16. You qualify. You're in if you beat United, you're in the semi-finals of the League Cup, and you could be in the 5th round of the FA Cup. And if you're still there or thereabouts in the league, like 7th, 6th, whatever, going into January, February, there's all to play for. I'm not suggesting we can, mount a title challenge, but it's lovely to be in all three competitions and doing fairly well, despite all of the problems, despite the injuries, despite the volatility in form. Last season we were out of the cups before they even began. And
the treble is on, John. The treble is on.
The treble could be on, mate. Yeah, why not? At least one of them. At least one of them. At least one of them. And the beautiful thing about the Carling Cup is, or the League Cup, is that it's over before the run-in starts, right? So you can get that one out of the way, and it can give you a real boon and boost of your own confidence going into what would hopefully be, by that point, the quarterfinals of the Europa League, and also whatever stage, the 5th round of the FA Cup. There's no reason to think that we can't have a decent cup year. And he, Ange said, second year. I'll hold you to it, bro.
Well, Sorry, we're in a bit of unknown territory. Just talking about the cups and Europa Cup, because come January, right, after the transfer window, and we know that Yang Min Hook's coming in this month. Luka Vuskovic is 18 on the 24th of February. I think we're going to bring him in and keep him because every league he's stepped up and he's done well. He does look a talent, actually, but we won't know until we see him. He's another unknown, really, in that respect. And the interesting thing about the Europa Cup is like we've only got a 23-man squad because we didn't have 4 academy homegrown players that had been with the club for 3 years, which is the requirement out of your 8 homegrown. So we got a 23-man squad. Now, to me, I don't know if come January, where it gets complicated, if by then any of our academy players will have done the 3 years to qualify to be part more of this squad, right? B-list players have to be with the academy for 2 years. This is why Graham Bergvall can't be on the B-list at 18 years of age, because they've not been with the club for 2 years or qualify as academy players. I'm just wondering whether if Bergvall doesn't get enough game time to prove himself, and we've seen the debate over Werner, I'm wondering if there'll be some temptation in January to shuffle the Europa League squad. Because if you're going to bring foreign players in, we've been linked with foreign players, but we've got no room from the Europa League squad as it stands.
Yeah, right? Didn't Lucas Bergvall play against Roma?
Yeah, he did, but he counts as a member of the squad. He doesn't count as a B-list player.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, sorry, I got you. No, sorry, right. Yeah. Sorry.
All the academy players look, you can announce your B-list 24 hours before a Europa League game. You can change it. It's not set in situ. You know, it's not set in stone, right? And you can have as many as you want, as long as they've been with your academy for 2 years.
Got it.
But
okay.
Bergvall and Gray have been brought into the club last season.
So they have, if you want them on, they have to play as they have to count as your A-list.
They count as first team squad members.
Got it.
For the sake of the league, right? So yeah, look, it is confusing. It should be simpler, right? There's nothing simple when it's involved Spurs or the league or anything else like that. So I'm wondering whether, the likes of maybe Werner, mind you, rumours are Werner might be signed up fully or whatever. But I'm wondering if that will affect us going for foreign players if there's nowhere to fit them, or if we think, well, the player's good enough quality, we'll keep him, but they just can't play in the Europa League. Soren, what's your take on that?
Sorry, I missed half of that because the dogs pulled the computer off the table. So
I wonder what happened.
Yeah,
gotta love the dogs.
Well, basically, we've got a 23-man.
Okay. All went.
I'm not going to.
The choice of sitting in the house instead of the studio. Sorry, I missed most of it. So
basically, I'll make it simple. The others not. We've got a 23-man squad for Europe, right?
Yeah.
If we bring foreign players in January, we've got no room for them unless we drop people out of the squad.
Well, we've got to.
So, so we've got 23.
Haven't we?
Unless you just keep players for league games and say, sod it. But then why are you bringing them in if they're not an upgrade anyway? So, so to me, could you envisage the side like Werner taken out the squad or Bergvall doesn't get a chance to prove himself?
I think it depends who we bring in. I would be quite surprised if we take anybody out for the young Korean, unless we're signing a proven first team starter. I don't think he'll change it unless they can go into one of the English spots. But I don't really. I mean, everybody's talking, and I know Sean mentioned a few names on his show, but I don't really see us signing any big names in January. I think it will be maybe a makeshift somebody. I just don't know. I just don't see us splashing a lot of cash, knowing we've probably got two players already coming in. So it will be interesting. I mean, you would like to think, but then I don't see him taking any of the youngsters out because I think he is trying to blood them in through that competition. So I wouldn't be surprised if any new players are just kept for the Prem squad and go in the cups in domestic league. But I don't know. I mean, we've sat here and speculated quite a lot about what Ange is going to do, and he never does what we think he might do or what us fans think should be done. So I think until you see who is signed, if anybody is signed, I don't know. I think it's a potluck as to what he's going to do with the squad.
Sean, we definitely need a left back and a number 9, don't we? I mean, I like the look of Ange. I watched all his games last year in the academy under 21, 23 goals and 22 games. It's 30 odd goals with the cup games. He scored in the Europa League, didn't he?
Yeah.
I want to see more of this kid. I'd like to see if Solanke's not fit. I want to see him against Bournemouth. I want to see him against Bournemouth Thursday. If Solanke's not fit, because we really missed that central striker that can do things for you in the middle there. But on the transfers first, because we'll talk about Bournemouth later. We definitely need a left back, don't we, as cover for your doggy? And we definitely need a number 9. They've got to be, as much as I wanted a left back and Eze in the last window, this left back, I think, is our most important position to fill because at least Lancashire is fit.
Yeah, I mean,
before you answer, Sean, sorry, Sean, before you answer, there was a quick question here. A quick question for you.
Where have I been? June of this year, I found out that I'd been basically hacked by some guys. Well, it started 4 years ago, and I thought I fixed it 4 years earlier, 3.5 years ago. But turned out that I didn't get rid of them. They were just sort of sleeper selling in my network, and then bit by bit they were eroding my value in my business and just taking things. And so I spent 6 months trying to resolve it. Haven't really tried to. I couldn't get any help. Couldn't get any expertise that was able to figure it out either. It cost me a fortune, and ended up costing me basically my business and lots of things, man. I won't even bore you with the details. It's also I shouldn't be even talking about it really. But long story short, yeah, they're still very much and ever present in my network, and I can't seem to get them. But then on top of that, my dad got cancer in the last 2 months and had to have his kidney removed.
Yeah.
And so I've just been like, Tottenham's been the furthest thing from my mind since about the 1st of July. So
good on you, man. You got to take care of other stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I appreciate it. But listen, to be honest, like whenever I pop back in, I tried to maintain a Tottenham presence. I came back in a couple of times with videos and that, and the overwhelming support that came from people in the community was it was unbelievable. I will never forget it. It doesn't matter whatever happens in my life. I will always be grateful to the people in this community for their support at what has been the worst year of my life. Hopefully 2025 will be better, but that's where I've been, man. I've been dealing with some life things that are more important than football.
Well, sometimes life is more important than football, you know. It is
sometimes, not often. But sometimes it is. Yeah.
No,
sometimes it's not.
But, well, yeah.
No. All right. I'm sure we're
in terms of. Sorry. Do you want to move on, or shall I carry on with the answer to the?
Go on, Karen.
Just be quick. Yeah. So for me, I don't think I think that the left back is important. I think we need some support there. For what it's worth, I don't have a problem with Serge Reguilon. I always liked him as a player. I don't know if he's dropped the ball, if he's not fit enough, or what, or why. You know, Ange doesn't see the value in him. But to me, you know, making Archie Gray play in that role is unfair. It's unfair on a guy to have to play left back when he's not even he's played a right back maybe, but he's supposed to be a 6. I want to see him in the 6, but I don't think he'll be ready to be the 6 that we need. I do agree, mate, that with Richarlison out, and I don't want him anyway. I think you need a player that can do a lot of work off the ball like a Solanke, but someone who's got a bit more clinical finishing. And look, you know, Gyökeres was my choice. I still would love to see him come back. I don't think he will. I think he'll go to Bayern Munich. But that leaves an interesting question around Harry Kane's future. Would the next Harry Kane for Tottenham be maybe Harry Kane? We'll find out in maybe 6 months' time. But I would argue, mate, that whilst you need a winger, you need a left back, you probably need a left-sided centre-back at some point, but maybe Vuskovic is the guy. But for me, I think that the number one most crucial thing is a monster 6, a beast 6, the 666. I've been saying it for 2 years, and I just think that the absence of it is such a ridiculous concept to think that we've got all these 8s. You've got Bentancur, you've got Bissouma, you've got this pursuit of Conor Gallagher and those sorts of types. I just don't think we need it. We've got too many 8s. We don't need any more. We can sell 2 of them and be absolutely fine, but you need to go and get a 6. And look at Manchester City and just look at City and go, how good is City with Rodri? How bad are they without him? Imagine how good Tottenham could be if they went and found their own version of a guy who can just sit and control and protect and distribute and be like a tempo master of the game, like Rodri does so well. You haven't got to get Rodri, but there's plenty of players out there. I made a video about 10 of them in June just before I disappeared, and we didn't go and get any of them. And I think that absence of him is the most important position for me to fill.
Colin,
Yes,
Sean
sir.
makes a good point on mentioning Reguilon, because when I looked at the subs when I was at the game, I'm thinking, why are you on the bench just to make the numbers up, or is your doggy carrying a knock? Because that's the first thing you fear now in Spurs, right? But then again, we also had Mason King and Malachi Hardy. They look good prospects, you know. I haven't seen too much of either of them, to be honest. They're both defenders as well on the bench. That bench, though, it was bare, wasn't it? It was threadbare.
Yeah, we definitely could use to strengthen in a couple positions. I don't know what the deal with Reguilon is. I know that Ange is pretty particular with his players. They've really got to kind of, sort of like Poch was, you know, they've got to be ready to run through a brick wall and kind of die for the team. And maybe he's just lost interest. Maybe, you know, all of these loans and the will he, won't he stay. Maybe his heart's just not in it, and Ange can see that. That wouldn't surprise me too much. But, yeah, I think we do need some left back cover. It's really weird. I know Jed Spence is you know, plays on the right by trade, but you know, we've seen him on the left and he's looked good. I wonder what the deal is there. But you're bang on about us needing a striker. You know, people complain about the play the other day and you know, our game and how Fulham, you know, controlled us and you know, all the things I've heard and saw with my eyes. But yeah, I think if we would have had, you know, a number 9 that could hold up play, that could slow the game down, allow us to get more players forward, and then, you know, spring them. Yeah, I mean, it's obvious we had, and you got to think, people say, when I brought that up, people say, oh, so one player's out and our team falls apart. It's not just one player, because you got to, even though Richarlison's not everybody's cup of tea, he's another one of our, you know, options for starting striker, and they're both out. And I feel like that will leave any team in a bad place. But yeah, we need to get rid of Richarlison, get a new number 9 in there to replace him. Sean, did you say something about Harry Kane a second ago?
Well, yeah, there was a story out from Plettenberg, who's the Sky Sports Germany journalist, who's basically just Bayern Munich's media PR machine. And he was saying that Bayern Munich have sought out the potential transfer of Gyökeres to Bayern Munich. And he says that whilst, you know, they've had concrete conversations, it hasn't moved any further than that. But it looks like Bayern Munich have basically targeted Gyökeres as being their next guy. Now, the obvious, more logical answer is that doesn't mean that Harry Kane's out, but it does mean that they're going to find a replacement for either him or Müller. And it's probably Müller that they're looking to replace, but I just don't know whether Bayern Munich, bearing in mind that they had the 55% ownership rule in America, 51% ownership rule in Germany, I don't think that they have the money to splash £100 million on Harry Kane. Plus that rises up, by the way, if they do certain things. They haven't done anything yet, but if they do certain things, that rises up. And then to also go and get Gyökeres. And Gyökeres is going to be a world record, probably a world record transfer fee at some point. That's how good he is, right? He's absolutely sensational, and he's very young and he's talented. He's done it at every level. And so I would struggle to see that, how Munich can afford to go after both. Do they even play with 2 up front? Would Harry Kane be willing to share minutes? Absolutely not. And would Gyökeres be willing to leave and come to a team where he doesn't get first pick all the time? Absolutely not. So to me, you kind of sit there and go, well, is there any wiggle room in that narrative for a Harry Kane return? Well, don't forget that Tottenham have first refusal on Harry Kane should he want to return. And maybe Harry Kane just wants to lift the trophy. And then if he does, maybe he'll go, oh, you know what? If you're bringing in Gyökeres, I'll go back to Tottenham. Now that at least that monkey's off my back regarding the 0 trophy thing. And Daniel Levy would love to, you know, bring back the boy. That would 100% win over some of the fans, right? It would give him,
especially if Sonny goes, which is there's
especially when Sonny goes, and you need someone to replace him. And how do you replace Harry Kane? The obvious answer is Harry Kane. So,
yeah,
you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm putting 2 and 2 together and getting like 50, but I would just say that there's a little story there. At least look, it's got enough value in it for me to bang out 15 minutes on my dog walk content, you know. But whether it's got any legs to it or not, probably not. But you know, a boy can dream.
It's got me excited already. So.
Right, Mark, we have 11 players in our squad of 25, and we've got a league squad that are under 24 years of age. Now, the reason I mentioned 24, it's just a guideline I've always used over the years. You need to be oven ready if you're coming into this club at 24 years of age. Below that, bit of latitude. I know it's not written in stone. It's the way I do it. But the team's still developing. I mean, like people seem to think they're seasoned pros. Not when they're still developing. We've got good. It's a good squad. It's just, but like there's a lot of good players in that squad. But when you look at the fact that like VDV's 22 developing, you know, you've got Doggy developing, you've got Saar developing, you've got Brennan Johnson developing, you've got Mikey Moore coming, and I've got no fears about Mikey Moore. If ever I've seen the best talent I've ever seen at this club, it's this kid, and I watched him all last season, right? But where's all our oven ready players that help get this squad forward? You know, I mean, and we've seen it especially, haven't we? If you take the 4 main workhorses in the team, which are Decky, Bentancur, his ACL best, and then you take Saar and Solanke. I mean, you want them to play all the time, but they can't. But then we haven't got suitable cover for them, have we? I mean, where's
no
drive and energy? Where's the dynamism? You know what I mean? Where is it?
I mean, when the channel first started, and I was on here, and it was the transfer window, I was saying it's all right bringing in the Greys, the Bergvals, and all that, but they've got no one really to sort of like take them under their wing and show them the ropes. You know, we need. I got nothing against Archie Gray or Bergval or any of them, but when you come into a club and you're young, 17, 18, you need somebody to take you under your wing, to show you the ropes. You know, and that's what I was disappointed with in the summer. It's all right getting all the kids for the future, but you need to think about it now as well. And we really didn't. That's my opinion anyway.
Okay. Soren, Maddison's been good recently, right? Basuma's shown bits. They're not the sort of players going to dig you out of a hole, are they?
No. I mean, Basuma, I think, has been disappointing. We got a couple of games from him last season where he was absolutely outstanding. He didn't do a lot under Conte, and since those first 10 games last season, he's been in and out. And you kind of think you want that Bissouma that you know you could get, then we'd be all right. Maddison, again, you know, he has spells where he's almost unplayable. He's looked really, really.
Oh, I think the dog's got his internet
again. Yeah, I was going to say, his dog's nicked his computer.
Sean,
yo,
Maddison and Basuma, what's your take on those two? Would you keep them? Would you get rid of one? If you took
Basuma can disappear for all I care. Yeah, Basuma's first on my chopping block.
He is mine, funny enough. He is mine. Wow.
Yeah, and then Bentancur.
We bring a Fratesi or an Edison in, or we've been linked with Hugo Larsson. We've been linked with so many midfielders. It makes you wonder if the rumours have come out the club.
Yeah. I think that
nothing against not having a number 6 if the 2 number 8s can be what we used to call holding players. We used to play with a pair of holding players as well. I mean, how comes? I mean, the thing that frustrates us fans and what we find so perplexing is that Basuma and Saar can be so good away at Man City, and then the wheels come off after that. And I'm not blaming Saar for this because I think he's took his chances this season brilliantly. I think he's a fantastic prospect. Even last season, I thought was our best midfield player, right? And and I'm disappointed we've lost Bentancur because he's one of my absolute favourites, you know. But your take on why are we losing this midfield battle?
Yeah, I think that. I think a lot of it starts with the front. If I'm entirely honest, I think you know the system is set up for press. It's like it's press, more press than an orange juice shot. And I think that the inability to pick a front four that has defensive responsibilities at the forefront of their mind is problematic. I think that if you're going to pick Sonny in the 9, Brennan Johnson on the wing, Timo Werner and James Maddison, all of whom have at best moments in their locker of getting back and working hard, but you know more predominantly don't do it at all or anywhere near good enough, then I think that puts too much responsibility on Pape Sarr and of course Basuma, who are supported somewhat on the ball with Pedro Porro and Udogie coming in, but ultimately they're not defensive midfielders. They're box to boxes, and Pape Sarr is a bit of an enigma. I love Sarr. I think he's sensational. I think he covers more grass than anyone I've ever seen, and he's in anticipation, and his ability to intercept is absolutely phenomenal. But unfortunately, with a player like that is an old school box to box that can get from one end of the pitch to the other and join play up, putting aside sometimes his bad passes and his misplacements in that regard. I think that it's a weird one for me because I really do like Sarr and I wouldn't sell him for anything, but I don't know if he's a great fit for a system that doesn't really allow for that necessary break and wiggle room to move into the space. And so if you're going to play him, then you need someone else behind him who can just tidy things up. And for me, why can't we win the midfield battle? We haven't got a 6 that can just sit and protect and distribute really well. And then you have 4 people in front in James Maddison and then the other 3 who just don't work hard enough off the ball. And that is a problem in transition. It's a massive problem, especially when you've then got fullbacks who are caught in transition in the midfield, and you're obviously going to just get pinged into the corners. And unfortunately, with the high line that we play, and not necessarily anyone to get us out of trouble outside of Mickey van der Ven, then it can be a combination, a cocktail of variables that result in too many chances giving up on the other side. And that is something that's very easily solvable. And it's for me, if you have the numbers in your squad, you pick players in the front 4 that work harder. And so you need to have at least 2 of that 4, ideally 3, that do not rest on their laurels. And you can't have Brennan Johnson, Timo, Sonny and Maddison in the same 11 and expect anything other than what happened against Fulham. You need to have Decky in there who works hard, stick him out on the right, but give him the freedom to move in when he gets the ball. But off the ball, he's going to get back and help Pedro Porro. You need to have a Dominic Solanke whose work rate is phenomenal and is understated and undervalued, underappreciated because his goals aren't there. And Brennan Johnson should be used sporadically. In certain games, he's necessary, but if you're going to have him, then you need to have other players around him that will absorb his lack of energy. And in other games, you don't put him on at all until the last 20 minutes, similar to how you would use Timo Werner and let them go at tired legs. But for me, that's the problem, right? And if you don't do any of those things, then you're putting too much responsibility on players that are not capable, not cut out, and were never supposed to be holding midfielders. And that, again, I'm sorry to say it, it lands on Ange to me. Ange needs to figure out that, you've got to respect opposition. You have to understand what they're going to do and how they're going to take advantage. And I don't think he's doing that enough. And I think it's a little bit down to the ego of that, it's who we are, mate. And it's a brand that he's attached himself to that I think is making a rod for his own back. I like the guy. I want him to win. I want him to succeed. But in order for that to happen on a consistent basis, he needs to spend a little bit more time thinking about the consequences of the 11 that he's putting out there. And I'm not a coach, nor am I a scout, and nor do I know his system better than he does. So who am I? I'm just a guy with an opinion. But to me, it's obvious. And I think it's obvious to a lot of people, but apparently not to him.
Colin, first 10 games of last season, 8 wins, 2 draws, still a record in the Premier League. But it was interesting that the midfield 3 was Sarr, Basuma and Maddison. But I think what was vital was the fact Decky was on the right.
Absolutely.
I think
Decky's an incredible player.
Do you think that Maddison and Basuma are good when the going's good? They're just flat track bullies, but they just can't get in there and help dig you out of a hole. We've seen it
So, Madison's a weird one. I would say with Basuma, you're probably correct. Like you said, when things are going good, he plays well and he looks good when the rest of the team are playing good. But Maddison, we've seen at the very beginning when he first came in, he seemed to sort of be able to carry us. Everything went through him. He could see things on the pitch that I felt like I couldn't see. He was everywhere and he was immense at the very beginning. His first couple of games with us, unreal. And then he's sort of fallen off a bit. And I know that there's people in the chat. I think David Clark's here. David would say that he's being probably held back, a little bit by the system. He's being hampered a bit by the system, and maybe that's true. But yeah, I think Madison's a good player for us. We just need to figure out how to take all defensive responsibilities away from him. And like Sean said, maybe that's getting that number 6 in, that can take care, that can mop up, and that can kind of free the rest of our midfielders to do their thing. Back on to Kulu. You mentioned Kulu, and I just wanted to say Kulu has proven over and over that he's the best player I think that we've got right now. Not only is he creative, but he can act as that kind of that hold-up player that, we obviously we've got Solanke, and he's really good in that department as well. But I don't know, Decky's hold-up is just unreal. His strength, super, super good. It's kind of deceivingly good. He's just super strong and tenacious, never gives up. I think having him on the pitch is the difference maker. I think had he been fit enough to, or had Ange picked him to start, I think our chances of beating Fulham the other day go way up. Is it bad that if one player like that's out, things change? Yeah, but then we also have to remember our starting defense out, strikers out. There was a lot more than just Decky missing, but Decky would have changed things. And yeah, I think, we get that strong almost. I mean, I know it's not ideal because he couldn't distribute, but like a Wanyama type player even would be good. I think.
Yeah.
It would just free the other two to get up, to play more on the offensive side of the game and do what they like to do. So yeah, that's my take on why those guys aren't performing super well.
Yeah,
Mark, I think if Basuma doesn't smash it, he's gone in the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Sean has alluded to, and what I've seen on the news now and all the feeds I go to find as much information as I can to give to you guys. It looks like we are looking for a midfielder, even though, last window I wanted Edison. Even Fratesi, I'll take this. There's a few there I think that could do a job out there. There's plenty of midfielders out there. There's never shortage of them.
No. Well, I'm glad that Sean brought up the number 6, because what was I crying for all summer? A number 6. A number 6. I said it every show, nearly. We need a number 6. We need someone like a Dembele character who can hold the ball.
We've got Gray in, right? Would you now put him in alongside Sarr when Gray's played? I mean, Ange obviously trusts him. He plays him over Spence. He's played him at left back, right back, centre back.
Yeah, I'm expecting him to be in goal soon.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, is he actually played the number 6 yet?
No.
For 10, he might have had 10 minutes there against
Roma.
Across
the midfield for Chelsea, for Leeds against Chelsea when they played.
I'm expecting Archie Gray to be in goal soon. He's played every other defensive position. To be honest, I mean, if he's going to be
maybe he's the answer. Maybe he's the answer. To goalkeeper with
put him in there. Put him in there. I've been calling for this, like Ange's system, where it's like 2 on the halfway line and everybody else just get at the other end of the pitch and see if you can score. It doesn't work in the Premier League. I've been saying it for months and months. It just doesn't work. As much as I want
with VDV in, it kind of does. I'm not trying to cut you off, my fault on that, but you know what I mean. VDV makes it at least possible.
Well, yeah, but you know what I mean. Where he's got to do these lung busting runs every game. I mean, where's he at the moment? He's on the shelf. He's on the shelf because his hamstrings can't take it. You know. I mean, as I've said, like the three games I mentioned now, the 2 against City and Aston Villa, where we sat back, we soaked it up a little bit, we played quick, fast football, progressing the ball quickly up the pitch, and we won basically, right? And that was none of that high line nonsense, none of the inverted fullback nonsense, because it doesn't work in the Premier League. I've been saying it for ages, and I'm not Ange out. I'm not. I want Ange to be successful, but I want him to adapt, take respect from the game, look at the opposition and think, right, they've done that, so I've got to do this. But he does nothing in the game. He does absolutely nothing.
Right.
He's a quite stubborn dude for sure.
It's so frustrating.
We'll come on to Ange later because I've got 2 questions for you guys on Ange. Soren, Gray oven ready for you? Oven ready now?
Oh no, he's not oven ready.
I think it's a tough one with Gray. I mean, I was one of the ones when we were talking in the transfer when we signed him and said, this lad's going to be a big player for us one day. And I think we all knew he wasn't ready when he first came in. And I don't know why Ange is playing him all over the pitch apart from the one position he's meant to be playing. It just doesn't make sense. But then I suppose on the other hand, who do you drop for him? I mean, you're not going to drop Bentancur at the moment because, when he can play, he's probably one of our best midfielders. Perhaps he's not doing a lot wrong. So how do you drop him? Bissouma's got the knowledge of playing in the Premiership, but I just don't understand why he won't give him a chance. Because when you see the lad, I mean, look, playing him on the left wing, he does look lost sometimes. I mean, I'm not going to say he isn't, but you see some of the things he's doing. He can run with the ball, and he's got a absolutely fantastic pass on him. He's got a footballing brain, and to me, he kind of screams that number 6 role. He's like a young Scotty Parker, somebody like that. And I just don't get why he won't give him a chance. I mean, obviously, he brought him on and put him in midfield against Roma, and then the poor lad gets bloody injured after 5-10 minutes. But, I mean, if you're not going to play him in the cups or in something, how is he going to get any experience? This is the problem, that we've brought him up and people are slating him because he's playing in the wrong position and saying he's not good enough. But how is he going to get experience if we don't actually play him in the position he's meant to play in?
Precisely.
And I mean, every other player that we're kind of bringing in, I mean, Mikey Moore plays on the wings. That's his position. Bergvall plays in midfield. That's his position. Lancashire plays up front. That's his position. Archie Gray comes in. Oh, we'll put him on the left wing. We'll put him on the right wing. It's not his position. Now, the only thing I can, a few people are sort of saying, well, is he kind of getting him used to the defensive role and things like that? I don't know. But I don't know. I just think if we're not careful, we're going to ruin the lad. For me,
it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah. I mean, for me, one of these cup games, you've got to give him a chance and put him in the number 6 and see if he can play it. If he can't play it, you don't play him there again. But I think he's an absolutely fantastic player. I saw him playing for Leeds last year, and I don't know. I'm just puzzled by it all. I really am, because he's a talent. He is going to be a talent. But
allegedly though, Ange doesn't play with a 6.
No, and I get that. But the thing is, if you watched him when he's played on the wing, on left or right wing back, and he inverts, he runs with that ball in midfield, and he can dribble, and he can put a pass together. So you play him in the same role as Papsar or a Benton Kerr or a Bissouma, and see what he can do. If you don't give him the chance, we're never gonna know.
Yeah.
Right. I just want to give the guests a plug. This is Colin's channel. For those of you out there, please go and subscribe. He's got a good little following over there, like. This is Sean's channel.
They are at the top of the chat.
They are at the top of the chat as well, guys. We will pump them later. And of course, we like to promote our own channel as well. Yeah. So, so if you like our content, you the usual thing, guys. Just give us the thumbs up and subscribe. Sean, want to move on to this part? Oh, he's on his phone.
No, I'm here listening. I'm listening.
All right. The January transfer move's already in full swing. How many incomings would be acceptable to you? How many are likely, and in what positions? Where do you think we're really looking? Because we get a lot of. I see so much meat, and you do as well. I know you hunt all this down. It's one of your pet subjects, transfers and all that. We see so much media bullshit, and especially why are you linking us with that sort of player when there's no way we're really going to go in for that player? You know what I mean? You've seen it all, Sean.
Everyone. As much as I know that 90% of the stuff that I put out is absolute tosh in terms of the likelihood, but we've all got to put content out. Everyone likes to read it.
With the stories, yeah.
Yeah, everyone. Everyone likes to sort of chew it over, even if it's not.
Are you saying it's clickbait, Sean? Are you saying it's clickbait?
No, I'm saying that
I was just asking.
An amalgamation of sources of interesting topics and interesting content that I like to summarize and give my my thoughts on. But is it clickbait? Sometimes the thumbnails, for sure, are ridiculously clickbait.
I gathered that,
and then it's just Harry Kane might be coming back.
I gathered that. To be honest,
look, I do love it. I do love it. Do I think
it's funny?
Absolute waffle? Yes, of course it is. And in terms of, to answer your question there, Adrian, how many people are coming in? Look, it's January, right? So at most 2, probably 1. In terms of out, it's very rare that we sell anybody in the January window, and if we do, it's meaningless players. So I would say coming in, there's possibly a goalkeeper that will be prioritised because of the circumstances. And if that's the case, then I'd argue that there's probably room for 2. But that will depend on outgoings. And I think that you will see Serge Reguilon move on. I would...
Gil and Højbjerg have still got to go, and Lo Celso.
Right, but they're on loan, right? So
loans with obligations to buy.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. That's kind of irrelevant to our squad stuff. So I would say you might see a couple of loanees in the youth system. You might see someone. I don't think you'll see Mikey Moore go, but you might see. No, I don't think it's going to be an intro. I don't think it's going to be a big window. I don't. It rarely is, right? Even though we spend all January like pumping it up, thinking that something's going to happen. At best, you probably see something in the final week, but it's going to be uneventful, and it will be a catalyst for yet more Levy out stuff. And, oh, that's the dog. I was wondering how big a dog has to be for him to knock over the entire internet and computer set. And now I know he's a big guy. He's a beaut.
He or she's a beaut anyway.
Absolute beast. I like him in the 6 or her in the 6. That'd be wonderful.
I
don't think it's going to be good, Adrian. I think it'll be a bit of a dead rubber in January, to be honest.
But we have done quite well in January windows. I mean, apart from Danjuma, right? We got Porro in, we got Dele Alli in, we got Bentancur in, we got Kulusevski in, we got Porro in.
I thought Danjuma was going to be the guy. I thought he was going to be a great signing. That shows how that goes.
Yeah,
he wasn't really given a chance, though, was he?
And when he did play, I thought he actually did kind of well. But anyway,
Colin, on the outs, I don't know how familiar you are with the news, but I mean, obviously there's the Romero situation. He'll be down to 2 years on his contract at the end. So in my opinion, you either sign a new one or you go, or we sell him, right? But the rumours about Porro, I know Porro loves the club, but the media are in their usual rumour BS mood, usually are. And like Real Madrid's supposed to be interested, but Dalot and Trent would be cheaper options for him. And besides that, Porro's contract is to 2028. And you got to come and deal with Daniel Levy, right? So good luck with that, right?
Yeah. Porro, if we want Porro to stay, Porro's staying. But I don't know. I don't know if that's the plan. I mean, Porro's a much maligned player. Everyone's got a different opinion on him. The one thing I like about Porro, I know this wasn't the question, but I like that Porro is not afraid to take some shots from outside the area. We don't have any players, it seems like, that are willing to take long shots. Well, I mean, obviously that's a little bit hyperbolic. Players do that, but Porro more than a lot of others, and so I like him for that. But defensively, he's a little bit of a weak spot.
He's made Dragusin do a lot of sprinting lately.
Yeah, Dragusin surprised me. I think he stepped into that role very well. He's not the same kind of defender as either Romero or of course Van de Ven, but I think he's done a good job. I think he's played well. But yeah, I mean, transfers. Do you think we'll get a keeper? Do you guys think we'll get a keeper in now because of this? I think maybe. I know that we were already looking, I think, at like competition for Vicario. I don't know. That's something I could see happening. But if we do, I could see it be like a younger guy. I think that's the new model. I think it's buy young players, big potential.
It's always that way, though, Colin, with goalkeepers, right? When you're looking for a number 2, you either get someone at the tail end of their career that's on their way out, that's looking for a payday, or you're looking for someone who's on the way up. But in order to get someone on the way up, they have to have, it's a really difficult circle to square, because they have to, for you to feel confident that they're the guy, then they have to have proven that they're capable on some level of sample size at some level of decent competition. And if that is the case, then are they really going to want to come and play second fiddle and maybe have a few minutes of, European football here, or Carling Cup stuff, whatever, Carabao Cup stuff there? I don't necessarily think that it's an easier one to do. So that's why a lot of these teams go after the older guys, because they're far easier. They're just picking up their 50 grand a week or whatever. Like, I mean, Fraser Foster's on 70 grand a week, £2.5 million a year. And look, to be fair to him, like, he's been sensational, hasn't he?
He really has. I've been very, very pleasantly surprised. I'll tell you, I was scared. I was worried whenever.
I was really impressed with Luca Gunter last year in the under-21s. And Josh Keeley was put out on loan just to give him stiffer competition. So he's obviously highly rated as well. And look, he scores goals as well, Josh Keeley. Did you see the headed goal he got in injury time for Orient? And then they won the game in a dying death, didn't they? I mean, like, I mean, out of all the goalkeepers, Austin did okay pre-season, but I'm just a big fan of Gunter. I'm a big fan of Gunter.
David, that's one trophy more than 98% of other football clubs in English system. So it's not easy to win trophies, mate. It's not easy. And it's not an entitlement either.
Let's move on. Let's get meaty before we go previewing Bournemouth and talk about our injury woes and stuff like that. I've got to... Right, there we go. Right, we take the first question around the panel first, then we do the second season, right? Soren, how would you assess Ange on that last season?
Oh,
do you want me to give you some background, make it easier?
No. I think the beginning of the season, the first 10 games last year, absolutely phenomenal. Really surprised us all what was going to happen. And then the second half of the season, it was hard work, wasn't it? It was up, it was down. The system didn't seem to work. It was players didn't seem to be I suppose it's the same as this season. Didn't seem to be believing in it all the time. He didn't have his squad, which obviously he's got more of his squad this year. But I mean, he still finished fifth. So, to me, it wasn't a failure. I think he was lucky to finish where we finished in the end. And I don't know. I thought, I mean, personally, after the season before that, the 2 years before that under the other manager, it was a relief to see some decent football, but there was some crap football in there as well. That was the problem. But I would rather watch his football than the previous manager's football. But I think the summit up, we was lucky to finish where we did. But it could have been such a different story had we had a better squad as well.
Sean, how would you assess Ange's first season?
I would assess it as in one word, volatile. In a slightly longer sentence, I'd say a promising start, a disappointing, damp squib of a finish. Lots of variables, but ultimately understandable given the amount of things that he had to change and what he inherited, where we were as a club. As I said 1,000 times, I'm getting bored of saying it on my own channel, but I don't know, people might not have heard it on your audience. I think that, I've said it 1,000 times now, that the guy after Conte was never going to be the guy. He was the guy responsible for changing things and putting things into place and getting rid of the dead rubber, dead wood, and inheriting an environment that was ever changing in the external factors, like no consequences for cheating, quote unquote cheating by Chelsea, really no consequences yet for Manchester City. Those are the guys that have gobbled up 95% of the trophies that are winnable in the last 10-15 years. And ultimately, Tottenham were pivoting to a new vision, a vision that we wanted to get back to anyway, but the pendulum had to swing too far, and with him it did. I think of it like like politics, right? I'm not saying that you should be a fan of any particular like candidate here or vision, but if the people that are the establishment are always promising change, and they're always promising better, and they're always promising this time it's going to be different, but it never is, then for someone to come in like a populist figure, like a Trump, for example, and say, I want to win your vote, he's not going to do that by saying things like change and this time it's better. He's going to have to be a little bit more extreme, because otherwise his voice is not going to stand out amongst the traditional method that is a bunch of bullshit anyway. And I think in bringing it back to Tottenham, in order for us to get back to where we need to be, front foot football that hopefully has success, it requires so many things to change with the approach around transfers, with the football vision, with the philosophy, with the arrangement. Everything else is in place now. It's like a show home, right? The stadium's great, the training ground's great, the money's coming in, and the players now have got youth on their side, a lot of talent. We spent a lot of money on a lot of talent. Hopefully they'll mature, but all of that stuff is not going to happen in the timelines that managers are given in this day and age. And so, unfortunately for Ange, I like him, I wish him well, but I just think he's going to run out of road before these things come to fruition. But the next guy is going to inherit, I believe, a club that generates more and more money but has less and less debt, Hopefully the economy will have calmed down with inflation. And so more of the disposable money can go towards the club, go towards what he needs. Plus also most of the deadwood's gone and most of the players in the squad now is promising. And so in a couple of years' time, they will mature into the footballers we hope them to be. And at that point, all you need to then do for the next manager is sprinkle a couple of superstars in, those £100 million players that will be justifiable because you won't need to sign 10 players every window. You'll only need 1 or 2. And then hopefully on top of that, just a dialing back of that philosophy, 10%, then hopefully you've got what you want, the perfect storm of maturing superstar talent. You've got debt that is coming down. You've got money coming in. You've got the ability to spend. You have hopefully a philosophy that everyone can get behind. And hopefully on top of that, you've also got the external factors like Chelsea and the rules and Manchester City and all of that thing getting kind of tied up in some sort of button and some sort of bow where it gives a bit of a fairer playing field. That might be a dream world scenario. It might not all come true, but I don't think that it's going to happen in Ange's time. And unfortunately for him, I just think he was a necessary cog in a big pivot, but he isn't the guy that's going to win us success.
Colin, how would you assess Ange in his first season only?
I mean, I think we were all happy, obviously, with that start. Who couldn't be, right? Unprecedented. I mean, it was a great start to the season. Yeah, obviously it fell off. A lot of people like to say that other managers like figured him out or figured out his tactics. I don't necessarily think that's it. I think that if you're doing any kind of homework, the guy's played exactly the same with every team that he's managed for 20 years or whatever. So I think saying that he was figured out is kind of a cheap, I don't necessarily agree with that. But yeah, I mean, it was fine. Like everyone was saying, he didn't have a lot of the players that he wanted. He had to kind of see who was going to be able to pull, their weight in his system. And Sean, I was going to throw a question at you too. Do you think that if he wins a trophy this season, that buys him longer?
Yeah, of course he does. Yeah, 100%. If he wins a trophy, he's got. I think the first 10 games of last season bought him an entire second season anyway, because everyone was happy, and if it didn't go that way, but I think if he gets a trophy this year, 100%. I mean, he's the first guy to do it since Ramos, right? And that gets the monkey off Daniel Levy's back. Daniel Levy will give him a big man bear hug, right? I don't believe Daniel Levy's probably ever hugged anybody in his life, but he'll definitely hug Ange Postecoglou, and he'll get a big bumper pay packet. And like, you know what? And I'm all for it. Like, let's go. I'd love a trophy like as much as anybody else, but I'm not talking about individual moments, because you can point to Tottenham's one-off trophy in 25 years. You can point to Wigan, Portsmouth. You can point to Swansea. There's 5 or 6 of them. Leicester, 2 trophies, and then they get relegated. Like, there's 7 teams. There's 12 teams that have won all the trophies in Daniel Levy's era. 7 of them, or 6 of them have won once, Tottenham being one. 1 team's won it twice, Leicester. And then the other 5 have gobbled up all the rest. And of the other 5, let's be honest, it's been 2 teams really. And those 2 teams weren't even a thing 20 years ago. The only reason they're a thing is because Abramovich set the ball in motion, and now they're trying to shut the door after the horse bolted. But if he gets a trophy, does he get longer? 100%. And why would you can't in any way, shape, or form begrudge him a third year even if it's the Carabao Cup, and even if we finish 13th in the league, but he gets the Carabao Cup, 100%. And if Daniel Levy sacks him because it's not good enough in the league and not the Champions League money or whatever, then Daniel Levy's a donut. Even though I don't think Ange is the guy. If he gets a trophy, you have to give him a third. You have to, 100%. You have to.
Clip that bit. Sean just said Daniel Levy's a donut.
Well, we'll come to you now, Mark. Then, how would you assess his first season?
First 10 games, obviously, we thought we were going to be invincibles. But following that, the remainder of that season, it was absolutely disastrous. It was a downward spiral. It really was. Now, I've said it on this channel many times. If you're top after 10 games, 96% of teams get top 4. Guess which bit Tottenham are in? Oh, the 4% that don't. To me, no, it wasn't good enough. It was not good enough. Now, the first 10 games, beautiful. But after that 10 games, like the system, this is when we started calling out the system and the style, the inverted wing back nonsense, the everyone bombing forward and just leaving 2 on the halfway line. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. and he's too stubborn and too ignorant to adapt. Right?
Yeah.
He makes no adaptations during the game whatsoever. His substitutes are atrocious most of the time, especially games like Brighton, where it went 2-1, 2-2, and he's just stood there doing nothing. When all of us watching the TV knew that we just had to sit back, soak it up for a bit, make substitutions when it went to 2-1. He does nothing, absolutely nothing. I've got, as much as I'm not Ange out, because I'm not, and I know I have a go at him, but I just don't believe in him. I do not believe in the manager. I do not believe in him. I just don't believe in him, Adrian. I'm sorry, but I don't.
Mark, quick question. Where did you expect us to finish before the season started? Most people expected us to either be relegated or finish bottom half. So the fact we finished fifth. I mean, I'm not saying you, but I mean, when you first came in, most people said,
I'm trying to think.
We would be
probably said. Well, I obviously knew we wouldn't be relegated. I think I said before the season started, 7th, 8th, somewhere like that.
So in theory, he preceded your expectations.
In that way, he did. But when you're top after 10 games and 96% of teams get top four,
I agree.
And 96% of the teams get top four, it's an absolute disgrace that we didn't get top four. Let alone that we threw it away. You know what I mean?
I'll give you my.
I find it interesting. I mean, I'm the same. I think a lot of us were. We didn't know where we would finish. I mean, I still said I wanted top four, but to finish,
I knew we wouldn't get that.
No, I mean, I thought before we started, that's where I would obviously want to finish every year.
I think I said 7th or 8th. I think I said 7th or 8th. But like when we were top after 10 games, and Sky were bringing up all like they do. Bringing up all the things, it was very low percentage actually went on to win the league, but like it was 96% get top four. To finish 5th is a joke. It's an absolute disgrace. And that's when I saw, because as the season went on and we were like losing against teams that we never should lose to, I was like, and then his system got up, and I was watching it and I thought it really don't work. And the fact that he never ever changes anything, he's so stubborn that he won't adapt. The only times he adapts is when he's forced to, like when we play City and they've got 80% of the ball anyway, and we've got no choice but to sit deep. That's the only time he's so stubborn. And to be honest, I believe it will be his downfall.
Well, let me give you my assessment of the first season. It's interesting to hear your comments. I mean, I always try to be objective and bring facts, and people can interpret the facts whichever way they want to the table, right, when they're on the table. But I see a manager who came in, someone I didn't know. Right? He loses arguably the world's best striker. We come flying out the traps, win 8 games and 2 draws. It's still a Premiership record. Then VDV gets a hamstring injury, key player for us. Bentancur gets done by Matty Cash. He's out with an ACL, key player for us. Yeah. Who was else who got injured? I'm forgetting now. Key player for us.
Maddison
got injured with his ankle. Thanks, Sean. Thank you, Sean. With his ankle, he got injured. Then during that process of going away and all that, Basuma had 3 suspensions last year. Romero had 1 suspension. Right.
But Adrian, mate, I know you can list off a litany of bad luck, but that every manager goes.
No, and then
I
know it can happen, right? Hold on. Then we had players away in international duty. We had 22 injuries last season, right? And yet we finished 5th. Now you can read into that what I've said, whichever way you want. If you disagree with it, it's fine. I think finishing 5th, I think another win would have got us 4th, as ridiculous as it was. I know it was close, right? I haven't got the league tables with me now, but. Yeah, so I think for his first season, I think he deserves a crack. And you're giving a manager 4 years, give him 2. Another reason is I do not want to go for the rinse and repeat syndrome, because we ain't going to get nowhere by doing that. And like it might fuel people with a different agenda because they've got different agendas, against the club, and I'm not a fan of the board, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind a new owner, but that's a topic for another discussion, right? But I think he's done okay. We can move. If anyone would come back at me on that, you can come back on that before I move to the second question.
I was just going to say, Adrian, I think where like Sean and Mark just said, a lot of teams go through those injuries. I think the critical thing for us was they all kind of happened together at a point where we were getting, we was rolling, we were getting some consistency, and the wheels fell off basically in that Chelsea game, didn't they? Had it been one injury here, one injury there, one injury a bit later on, I don't think we'd have seen the capitulation quite as bad. It just really went wrong at probably the worst possible time it could go wrong. And, had we got through that Chelsea game with kind of no injuries, no sendings off, and kept that run going, you don't know what might have happened that season. But, the interesting thing is, like you say, I think as a lot of fans expected mid-table at the very best, we finished 5th, but we're not happy with that because of how it started. And this was a conversation that was had last year, where had we not had that 10 games at the beginning and it came at the end and we finished 5th, this conversation now would be a hell of a lot different.
Absolutely, 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
You can come back at me, guys. I just want to add one thing to that. I'm happy we didn't get Champions League football. We'd have got mullered, I reckon. Sean, anything to say on what I said? My take on it?
No, listen, I think that, look, it's Tottenham, right? There's always going to be a difference of opinion, because when you've been so close but so far for so long, every opinion has got validity. There's not the people in this community that I fundamentally disagree with on so many things. It's not like I sit there and say there's no validity to your point. I totally get it, right? And with you, Adrian, your take around the story of last season, there's a litany of bad luck and timing issues and things happening at the same time, and those are variables that you have to bake in, which is why I always stand there and say, like, I don't think that you can use this argument like on any topic, but the owner, for example, not to get off the point, but like that there's one constant in 25 years, therefore, ergo, he has to be the reason. Like, just like you could also say the other constant is the fact that we play in North London, or that the grass is green and the sky's blue. There's a million constants don't equal causation. They might be correlated, but they're not causation. And to me, I think that when you look at Big Ange's first season, there's a bunch of things that he will lean into because it's in his interest to sit there and say, well, it wasn't as bad as this because of these things. But every club has to face the variables that are outside of your control, and injuries, international call-ups, suspensions, all of those things, they are variables and they are factors, and they should absolutely be baked into your own opinion on how you think he did. I would just make the argument that every single team faces those things, and every single team has to find a way to get through them. At the moment, Ange is on this track record of saying, I'm not someone who makes excuses. There's a lot of teams that come out and say about injuries, but I'm not someone that does that. But by the way, we've got a lot of injuries. And he says that every week.
Yeah,
right?
it's not...
And also, like, the Thursday, Sunday thing, it's not an excuse that I make. But by the way, the players are tired from playing Thursday, Sunday. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it. You shake hands with the job that is in front of you, and those variables are going to always be an ever-present. And sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. Refereeing decisions, VAR calls, bad decisions. Remember last season, that run of 10 games that set him up for such a poor second half, but that got him that extra wiggle room. Remember how much luck, quote unquote luck, came our way during that 10 games, right? The Liverpool game. They shouldn't have gone down to 10 men. We got the last minute own goal. Sheffield United, last minute own goal. We weren't the better team in that game. In the Luton game, hanging on for dear life. It was Decky and his unbelievable engine that kept us in that. Basuma being a donut and getting 2 yellow cards, one of them for diving when you're 1-0 up. What are you doing? Like, all of those things went our way. And when you're putting out, not you, but when anyone puts out the list of reasons why you should give the guy a free pass, and he would do the same thing, he'll probably conveniently overlook the luck that went our way in certain factors at certain points in that game. So you hope, not that it's a science, but you'd hope that over the course of a season, those things iron themselves out and that you win some, you lose some. What I would say, last point on this, is that if Tottenham are a cup team, you don't get to have a second chance and hope that it evens itself out in a cup, right? So if you're leaning into the excuses and the variables of bad decisions or injuries and those things are going to be just as never present a force and a factor in cup competitions. The unfortunate thing is that one bad decision by a referee gets you out of the cup, and that's it. One bad decision by a player diving, or a yellow card, a sloppy red card from. Do you remember Romero in the Champions League, AC Milan? We're 1-0 down. Conte puts up 10 men behind the ball when you're chasing a game. Stupid from him, but even more dumb from Romero for doing the red card thing. Like in cup competitions, you only get one chance. And I think that if we're going to focus on cups, then unfortunately leaning into luck too much is going to cost you, because you're not going to get it always your own way. Yeah. And for me, I think that when you balance out the kind of the overall analysis of Ange's first season, I think too much of it comes down to luck and not enough comes down to solid preparation. I don't think that he plans enough for the opposition. I don't think he bakes in those variables, and I don't think he cares enough, whether that's lazy or arrogance or self-confidence or belief, whatever. But I think if you want to succeed at this level, at the very top, you need to bake in as many variables as you can that you can control. And I don't think he does it with regards to his preparation.
Yeah. Right. One thing that also does my nine about Ange is his press conferences. I've never heard such waffle in my entire life.
He's not cryptic like Conte or Jose.
No. What? But like,
he kind of is actually. I think he kind of is.
It's like Sean just said. Like, he's going on about like the players and that, right? They're playing every 3 days, and yet at the start of the season, he says, "I'm happy with the squad."
But what's he supposed to say? What's he supposed to say? Is he supposed to say, I got fucked by Daniel Levy? Sorry for my language, but it's supposed to say, Daniel Levy absolutely.
No. Hang on. No. I'm just.
But Daniel Levy didn't though. We spent £400 million.
Well, exactly. Right. And so on one hand, he's saying, "Oh, Thursday, Sunday is tough and all this," and yet, he's saying like.
It's not an excuse, but here's a couple of excuses for you.
Exactly.
But here's exactly that I haven't said for the last 5 minutes.
In his press conferences, I wish he'd just come out and say nothing.
Do you know what, Mark, the problem is, mate, is that as a fan, you only get 25 minutes of access to your manager a week, right? You get the pre-match and the post-match in a one-game week, and maybe you get 2 of them if it's a double game week. But his approach to the press, if he's in a good mood, and he's on the back of a win, he's charming, he's lovely, he has little warm moments with some of the younger guys in the press room. It's lovely to see. You've got the potential to be warm, captivating, and everyone hangs on your every word. But all too often, he gives curt answers, he rolls his eyes, he dismisses valid questions, and thinks that they're just snarky from the journalists that are trying to get a gotcha. And I don't like it, because I only get to see what he's like for half an hour. And you know what? In the game, he does this. So you don't get to see much from that. And I think that you can get more from his body language than you can from his words. And I think his body language looks like he's not enjoying it. I don't think he's enjoying it.
I don't know. I'm not a body language expert, but
neither am I.
I just think that's something that gets talked about a lot, is his like touchline behavior. And to me, it doesn't bother me a ton. People say that, he should be motivating the players. These players can't motivate themselves. That's a huge issue. And like when you're playing a game, it's so hard to listen and take in instructions as you're actively trying to play. I don't know. I think that a lot of players tune that stuff out anyway. I don't know. I don't want him like dancing and waving his arms around and looking like Arteta on the touchline. I don't know. I get that there's a happy medium between those two, maybe. But
let's put the two extremes together, Colin. Go back to Conte. Conte was all over the place. Screaming, shouting, throwing things, blah, blah, blah. What good did it do him? And the opposite. It's you go from one extreme to the other. Jose running up and down the pitch line. It's one of those things that kind of get the Ange thing, because I think in my mind, the way he's doing it is, I've told my players what to do. They've been drilled all week what to do. Now they're on the pitch. They should know what to do.
Yeah, but that's like I train Bugsy Malone, right? But sometimes then You go out and there's like a car coming, and you've got to you can't just sit there and watch the car run her down. You have to sometimes step in and go, Bugsy, come out of the way. You should know this by now, dog. You're 4 years old. We've been through this. A car comes, you get out of the way, but she doesn't always, so you have to step in. And I think that he needs to step in a little bit.
Sean, but
a manager can change things at half time, can't he? And all right, you can players come over for a drink, you can give instructions. That's about it. I don't care if someone's quiet or demonstrative on the touchline, because when Conte was doing it, there was those in the media that were sneering, saying, "Oh, look, he's like a lunatic." They complain about it. You can't have it both ways. I don't think.
I'll tell you what told me. I'll tell you what told me. All you need to know about Ange is the Fulham game. When there was stoppages in play, you notice all the Fulham players, chats with the managers. Ours were just stood about scratching their backsides. No offers of anything from the sidelines. Nothing. Or when there was injuries, whoever was down, one of ours, one of theirs, all the rest of the team straight over to the Fulham manager. I don't know his name, but they were all over there talking to him, and he was and he was pointing and gesturing, and ours nothing. They were just left there scratching their backsides. Nothing. Now, to me,
in his defence on that, I would say they've been, as Soren alluded to, they've been given the game plan, carry it out.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, there's only one game plan. Things change in games. You need, you know what I mean? It seems to me they're only given one game plan, attack at all costs, and that's it.
I get it when fans, I know what they mean when they say no plan B. And you get it, all clubs and all their supporters, no plan B, no plan B. That's because there isn't a plan B. Even Redknapp and Jarl and other managers before have turned around and said at this club, what you're doing, you're able to bring your subs on that offer you something a bit different when they're out on the field. If there isn't a plan B, you're not changing your system. You're not changing everything you've drilled all week for, like in 30 seconds on the pitch, right? You can hand out instructions half-line, call players over. So do this, do that. Tell so-and-so to do this or do that. But there's not much you can do. Once they cross that line, the onus to me, the players need to take responsibility. And if they're off point, then we're not going to have a good day.
Yeah, but plan A can also not necessarily always look the same or 95% the same.
Yeah.
Yes, there's been slight tweaks here and there, but a lot of good managers, Unai Emery is a great manager, right? How does Unai explain? Oh, this is the last thing. Sorry, because I've got to jump. I don't know if you'll still be going in half an hour, but I'll be back. But I've got to go and meet someone in 10 minutes down across the street. So, last thing I'll say, last question for you is, if you were to ask what is Ange ball, most people would tell you, right? High line, inverted fullbacks, blah 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 blah. If you were to ask someone what is Unai Emery ball, or what was David Moyes ball, or what was Arteta ball, then most managers. And they don't have to be top drawer. They can be someone that's just been around the block many times, like David Moyes has. These guys set up their team with a consideration towards who they're playing and how to get the best out of what they have. And that doesn't always look the same. Unai Emery will turn up some days and play high line, attractive football, wide guys. The fullbacks will overlap. Other times they'll invert. Other times they'll sit with two in the back, three at the back. Sometimes they'll sit with two in midfield, double pivot. Sometimes they'll do a single pivot. Sometimes they won't have any pivot at all. Two up the top, one up the top. There's variations, and the same. You don't have to tweak in game, but that plan A doesn't always look like a Ange ball or a whatever ball, Pep ball. Some of these guys have. Well, I don't know which version of Unai Emery I'm going to see today, but I guarantee it's going to be one that is set up to be cognizant and considerate
Emery,
of the team that they're playing against.
Playoffs, didn't he? He crowded the midfield. Where was the wingers? These superb wingers.
But then he'll do something different against Fulham or Bournemouth, right? And I think that is what most fans want, is like, if you're getting paid £10 million a year or £5 million a year to do your job, and none of your preparation considers who you're playing against, and you spend all day long, every day, just repeating the same drill so that you can hammer home a message, a narrative, an intangible thing, I think it comes across either as extreme self-belief in your model, or it comes across to some that are a bit more cynical and skeptical as lazy, tactically lazy.
Arrogant.
Guys, listen, I'm sorry. If you're still going to be here in half an hour, I will be back.
We'll still be here probably.
Okay, thanks for having me. But if
it was really good to see you, Sean.
You too, Colin. You too, Sean. Mark. Cheers, Adrian.
Yeah.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, Sean.
Like what you have to say, Sean. I'm sure we all like what you have to say. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant,
likewise,
Sean.
Ditto, guys. It's always a great chat. See you soon.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
Big up, Sean.
Peace.
Right, let's move to the second part of the question. I'm going to come with you, Mark, first. Second season, has Ange adapted?
Of course he has. No. No. Well, no, Adrian, he doesn't. Right? It's like Sean's just, I don't need to say anything. Sean has just summed it up. It's the same. He's got no, now to me, he has no, awareness of who we're playing. The only time he drops the defence deep is when he's forced to, against Man City and against Villa, when they were all over us for a bit. That's the only time he does it. There seems to be no consideration to who we're playing. Obviously, there's 19 other teams in the Premier League, and they're all going to play slightly different football. All right, a lot of it's going to be the same, but they all got their strengths, weaknesses. This is where good managers, like Sean was just saying about Villa manager, that's why they adapt the system. They'll play this way against them. They'll do this. They'll do that. And it's like I said as well, the Fulham game, when there was an injury, all the players were over to the Fulham manager, and he was pointing and and he was giving them instructions. You never see that from Ange. He stands on the sidelines with his hands in his bloody pockets, for goodness sakes. This, to me, Adrian, he believes 1,000,000% in his system, and he's too arrogant to admit that maybe it's not right, and he's got to change it. And I believe it will be his downfall. As much as I don't want this rinse and repeat cycle, as much as I don't want the rinse and repeat cycle, manager every 18 months, it's going to come to it, because the way he plays is not sustainable in the Premier League. I've been saying it for months.
Right. So that's the way he plays you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Hold on. There's a system of way you play football, and there's a question of whether you adapt, right? And they're separate things. They are separate things, and people always conflate them together, and they're not the same, right? Now, I've noticed many noticeable tweaks this season in the team. I've noticed many of them. And when I go and ask people, say, well, what do you mean by adapting? Most of them come back stubborn, won't change the system. But you can play all systems work, all systems fail. And when I say, what do you mean by adapting? They can't answer the question, because they just can't answer it. I mean, if you look, like I said to people in other shows, if you look at the beginning of the season with the system, now I've been critical of Ange's substitutions, his team selections when he's got things right.
They're awful.
So praised him when he's been right on this show and other shows as well, right? But to say he hasn't adapted, he is not going to change. People think, change your football philosophy. He's too stubborn. He is not going to change his football philosophy. And that's not being stubborn if you believe in your philosophy. If he fails, he fails. But he fails believing in his philosophy. But he shouldn't change his philosophy, because he's been playing that way since he's been in the game for at least 26 to 30 years. He'll know every system. He'll know all the tactics. We're pretty knowledgeable. We're not expert coaches. We're not down to the nth degree of knowing everything about football. But we got eyes in the head. We see what goes on, right? And what I see from the beginning of this season, he started against Leicester, Sonny in the left, Slanky in the middle, Johnson on the right. Next game, because Bazuma was punished, he's brought back in the side, whatever it is. Then it was Sonny on the left. Slanky was missing. Decky played through the middle. Johnson was on the right, or whatever.
But that's not a change of system, Adrian. That's just personnel aren't available.
That's a notable tweak. That's adapting. He's
it isn't.
To the circumstances. Then the next game, you had Odegaard was playing on move to the left when Sonny was on the right. He's adapted. He changed the midfield. He adapted. He adapted when he's brought Gray into the team to play in different positions.
Adrian, just because he brings different personnel in doesn't mean that he's adapting and changing the system.
Listen, where people are definitely wrong, there's a difference between adapting and being stubborn with a system. They are two separate things, but people conflate them For whatever reason, they've got, who knows, right? But they conflate the two. You adapt into circumstances. It's a bit like people moaning about him on a touchline. Makes no difference whatsoever. He runs down like a lunatic, yelling and shouting, or whether he just walks calmly along the pitch, or whether he's got his... What has his hands in a pocket got to do with how someone's playing? They've got nothing to do with it. What is that player got to look across to the manager to see if he's got his hands in his pockets? It's just, I don't know. It's just another excuse that people like to beat him with a stick. And it's a bit like, I will criticise him, and I've criticised him for his substitutions. I've criticised him when I think he's got things wrong. I think he got things wrong against Fulham, right? Like we all did. But there's been notable tweaks, and he has adapted. He's not changing his philosophy. Soren, what's your take?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you, and I agree with Mark as well. I think he certainly has adapted. He certainly has changed things this season compared to last season. And I think if you listen to pundits and players that have played with him and covered him in previous terms of his management in other countries, they've all sort of said in his first year, he just sticks to the exact same thing, game in, game out, no matter what, because he's trying to inflict a philosophy onto that team. And let's not forget, he's come into a club that was broken. This club was broken when Conte left, and the end of that season and him coming in. It was people say it's a shambles now. It was an absolute shambles. It was toxic beyond belief. And he's tried to come in. He's tried to change the mindset. He's tried to change the way the players believe and play. He's changing the way the higher management work as well, and listen, and do things. And this all takes time. That's the problem. And you look at the way he played last season, I think the word stubborn, the word, all them sort of words are absolutely spot on. It didn't matter whether we was losing. It didn't matter whether we was winning. It was the exact same thing, game in, game out. That Chelsea game, 3-0 down, 3-1 down, whatever it was, we were still attacking. And that was his philosophy last season. You look at this season, and there have been adaptations. There have been changes in systems. There have been changes in personnel, which affects the way the system plays. It might be very subtle changes, but it does change the way we play. And I think where you go back and then you look at what Mark was saying, his substitutions have been terrible. They've been, it's dreadful. It's almost like some games he's thinking about it for too long. And then other games, all of a sudden, he's made that substitution and it's changed the game. And you think, why can't you do this more often?
So I agree.
Where we say he's stubborn, I do agree, but I disagree, because I think when you go into management, it doesn't matter what, whether it's football, whether it's anything else, it's down to you to make things work. And if it doesn't work, you're sacked. You've lost your job. But if you're doing it how somebody else tells you and you lose your job, it's not really fair, is it? So you've got to have that. And if he backs down and says, all right, we're going to change this system, or we're going to change that system, then that's kind of telling that everybody, after all is said and how he believes in his system, that all of a sudden he doesn't believe in his system because he's changing it all the time. Now, Sean made a valid point where he said, you look at Unai Emery and you think, I don't know his system. But on the counter argument to that, look, and I'm not saying we're a top team, so please don't slaughter me. All the top teams play a certain way. Pep plays the same, game in, game out. 6-7 games without a win, but he'll still play the same way. You go to Fergie. Fergie played the same way most of the time. You go to Barcelona, you go to Real Madrid, you go to Bayern Munich. They all play the same way all the time, and they win things. Now, I'm not saying we will win things, But I get why Ange does it, because he believes that system will work. He just has to wait for it to click. One day it might click, it might not. That's the problem. And I think, again, Sean got it spot on where he said, it might not be this manager that brings us success. Look at Man United. Absolutely phenomenal under Sir Alex Ferguson. David Moyes comes in, who was Alex Ferguson's choice, and it's just flopped. Because it's not necessarily the right manager at that time. It could be down the line. You look at Man United now, I mean, you know, there were people wanting Ten Hag for Tottenham. It hasn't really worked. I mean, yeah, they've won 2 trophies, but in the end, it was as disastrous as what we are now. All of a sudden, Arne Slot comes in. Not sorry, Arne Slot, thingy from Sporting. And it looks a totally different. Yeah, it looks a totally different team. Same players, but it just suits that system. So has he adapted? Yes, he has adapted, definitely. Is he still a stubborn? Yeah, still going to be a stubborn. And I think he'll be stubborn till the day he goes. Will he be gone before Christmas like most people said? No, I don't think he will be. Will he still be here at the end of the season? Yes, I think he will be.
Yeah. Colin. Yeah, go on, carry on.
I just think, I actually think for once, I mean, unless it goes absolutely disastrously wrong and we suddenly out of every cup within the next 2 or 3 games and we just plummet down, he is here to stay. And I think for once, Daniel Levy might actually stick by his manager till the end of the season. And I don't think the way things are that there is an expectation, there is a want, but maybe not an expectation to finish top 4 this season.
Well, you've got what you say is it's the cups really that keep it for them, even if it goes funny, because you got January 11th is the FA Cup tie, and then the last week in January there's the last 2 Europa Cup games are in the last week. Elfsborg and Hoffenheim away, Elfsborg at home, right? So that means you're still in there. In the worst case scenario, if we finished out the bottom 8, I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll win the next 3 games in that competition, but that's just me. But you're in the playoffs anyway. There's no way we're not going to be involved in the Europa League, even if the worst happens between now and then. So, and that gets you Champions League spot anyway.
That would be phenomenal. If he gets a Europa League trophy, holy shit. Like that.
Yeah, that's the one I want. It's the one I want. Mark wants FA Cup. I want Europa League.
I want them both. I'm selfish. I want them both.
I want any bloody trophy.
Let's just jump back a little bit. We said, how do we think his first season went? And obviously, before the season started, a lot of people thought mid-table. A lot of people thought, jokingly probably said, oh, we're going to get relegated. We've lost Harry Kane. New manager, doesn't know what he's doing. We're doomed. We finished 5th. Beginning of this season, half the fan base was shouting, don't care where we finish as long as we win a cup. Well, all of a sudden, the Premier League form might not be great, but we're still in the cups. So the problem is everyone's jumping on it now, saying, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible. We're still in all competitions in a sense. I mean, I know we're not going to win the league and that is out, but jokingly, we're still in the running. But, we could still win a cup. We could finish top 5, top 6 maybe. And people, there'll still be something to moan at, but until the end of the season, we don't know where we're going to finish. The next question is, if we get to a final, is that good enough this season?
Colin, I mean, I look at patterns of play when I'm not magnetically attracted to the ball at the stadium. I probably see a bit more overall than you do on the TV screen. Yeah. And I haven't seen, I think I see 2 at the back when we had a massive attack once, but it's mostly been 4-3-3, 3-4-3. It's always 3 up the front usually anyway, if not more running in support. Me and Mark differ over the inverted fullbacks. I agree with Mark that Porro inverts, and they don't invert as number 10s, as people say in other areas, other fans, they don't invert as number 10s because number 10s are creative players. They are a Maddison, they are a Dele, they are Ericsson, they are Firmino, they're players like that. They come in as an 8. Now, I agree, Porro does invert. But even last season, Udogie to me played a furrow up the left-hand side, and I like him doing that.
Overlapping runs most of the time with him, yeah.
But he he doesn't invert like they say. I mean, like he may on occasion do it, but he's not. He doesn't look to cut in as often as Porro does. Let's put it that way. Porro's always looking to get in there. You know.
Yeah, I mean, if there's space, Destiny will go in. You know, he'll cut in if there's space there afforded to him. You know, players are playing and they're looking for space a lot of time too. You know, you have to. Yeah, that's something kind of just to factor in. Is they're just trying to play the game and affect it in any way that they can. But yeah, I agree. I don't think that the inverting fullbacks thing is disastrous. I think that, like you said, sometimes we don't even do it. You know, we've seen both fullbacks kind of overlapping at times.
And
but, yeah.
The issue I've got with it when it doesn't work, not so much them hitting balls down the right and Dragosin have to run like hell to get back like he did against Fulham and playing something like that, is in the forward areas as well. Because my issue with it, when I don't like it, is if Porro inverts, Johnson's on the right wing on his own. There's no overload there. When Decky used to go down with Porro, they used to get overloads on the right. You don't get this now. And I've been critical of Johnson, but I must admit I've really warmed to him this season, right?
How could you not?
He's shown composure. Yeah. No, he's shown composure in goals. And I thought it was another Werner at Miss Merchant. He's shown composure. So you're not getting them sort of overloads on the right because he's not there. The other thing I've noticed, which I'll be critical of, I like Romero. I think he's our best defender by a country mile. Others will differ with me on that, right? But
I might even.
Yeah. I've noticed at the stadium at times, I thought, come on, you can move the ball a bit quicker. But other times, I've got the overview of the pitch. There's no one running, no one coming to receive the ball, no one doing nothing. So
even on throw-ins, we don't move. We don't attempt to make runs.
And he's our quarterback. And Dragosin and VDV aren't mature enough or haven't got the confidence to progress play from the centre-back position. They
or
don't
maybe just the ability. Yeah.
I'm not saying Dragosin can't ping a ball like he did to Decky at Man City and he cuts in crosses and Maddison scores, but most of those crosses go astray anyway when I try that on, right? Romero's the best for that. Others just don't like Romero. That's fair enough. That's their opinion. I
think he's a really good defender.
But whether it stays or not, I don't know. So that's another critique, right? I'd come in for. And I critique the midfield. Personally, if I was being ruthless tomorrow, buy a Basuma, you're gone. Because we need someone better. I would keep Maddison for what he can give you and use him. But then, for me, next season for him, we'll see how you go as well. I'd keep him from this season because he can unlock defences when things go. He can give you something special. And it may be, I mean, when you look at the Man City game, did Maddison play so well because he was just on point and he was always going to play so well? Or did he play so well because of the team selection that was there, right? The fact that Decky had come in on the right, Johnson was on the bench. How much did that make such a big difference to us and all that? And Ange may see that, but we don't know how tired these players are. And we can't keep playing. I mean, if I could, I'd play Solanke, Decky, Sarr and Bentancur every game if I could. But we just don't have the squad depth of similar players to do that. And a lot of the other players. And I've been critical of Ange, and critiqued his subs like you have against Fulham and other games. But I think the noise levels around Ange are higher than they should be, personally. I don't think a lot have said what's fair. I don't like it. His press conferences, as you say, people sitting like praying mantises waiting to pounce on his press conferences. What I really don't like, if he says something wrong and you're on his case, fine. I haven't got an issue with that at all. I've got an issue when people downright lie. And by that, I mean, you don't quote Ange. You take his words out of context to suit your narrative and your agenda, and you fucking lie. Well, you're a scumbag if you do that. You're not supporting the team. You're not supporting the manager. You're not supporting, at all, which is what you should be unless they fail. If you do that, that's scummy. That's absolutely scummy. Quote, if he screws up saying something and you do it in the context of what he said it, show the context and the inverted commas, fine. No issue. If he screwed up, said something he shouldn't, if he's got prickly and bristled after a defeat, which, look, I can understand that. I can understand him being angry. People saying he's shown more body language being angry after a game when it's gone wrong, but when people deliberately because they've got a different narrative and a different agenda. That's what it is.
Well, you're talking about basically the biggest one recently was when he talked about why can't it be entertaining, and people took that as he wanted to be entertaining more than he wanted to win, and that he never said that, and that was something that was thrown around in a lot of groups and areas where I was looking at. But yeah, exactly. No, 100%. You can't pick and choose when you're going to read into people's comments and decide what they were actually thinking. Oh, he said this, but what he actually meant was X, Y, and Z. You can't do that. It's disingenuous, like you said.
Some of his substitutions are perplexing. I mean,
for sure.
It's easy
I don't think he's got the squad he wants.
Critic and say like Lancashire should have started, right? I mean, you'll get a lot of people say that, right? I get when I see the front three, I thought that's got pace. Will it work with Son in the middle, right? Well, it didn't. Right, it didn't, right? So, like, that was the starting lineup without even having to adapt anything. So afterwards, any hint of Slanky having this virus, and I hope it's not a seasonal virus going through the squad because Mikey Moore's had one as well. Any hint of Slanky not being fit, Lancashire should start Thursday, which will come to Bournemouth in a bit anyway. But some of his substitutions, they've baffled me. The timing of them. I mean, if you're making a substitution, because like we see the other day, I'm not sure. I'll come to injuries later, but Gray looked like he went off had a bit of a dead leg. Porro looked like he pulled his
on his foot.
Yeah, all right. And Porro looked like
Decky came off too.
Yeah, yeah, but look at the amount of games he's played. I mean, we can all say play Decky. But then if he pulls up and does his hamstring, the fans will be going, "Oh, what's he playing Decky for?"
You overplayed Decky. Yeah, of course.
No, I mean, look, Ange has got. I think he's got quite a few. Tactically, more. It's not so much tactics. We know what the tactics are. The team selection, the substitutions have been questionable, and yet in a few of those games, he's made subs at half time. But I don't know if it's because injury. We don't get the right sort of transparency from him, even in the press conference. He doesn't throw players under the bus. That's one good thing, right? But he's got to get more of these decisions right. Good managers, like Soren alluded to, they get these decisions right. Mm-hmm. I'm not worried about the system. And like when people talk about 4-3-3s, 3-4-3s, 4-2-3-1, 5-3-2, and all that, you don't see that for 90 minutes on a pitch, right? Players are given roles. Players are given roles, right, on a pitch. So once you start, you know what the shape of it should be.
But the question about like his adapting and has he or hasn't he? I think the fact that we played so many games with Decky out on the right, and that was how we played, and then he's now moved Decky centrally, and I think the fact that you have him as an option to play, I don't think the style changes, but I think the personnel that you use kind of changes that, I mean, like you said, he's not going to change his philosophy, but playing Brennan Johnson on the right versus playing Decky on the right, you're going to get something completely different. And I think that, horses for courses, there's a time and a place for either one. I will say, and nobody asked, but I will say I do think Son should be a bench player. I think Son should come off the bench late in games and affect him whenever people are tired, and he can, make those couple of good runs he's got in him per game. I think they would be more suited towards the end of the match, but he's the captain, and so I don't think that's ever going to happen. But I think he's adapted some. Like you were saying, Adrian, he's not going to change his philosophy, the way that he does things, because he believes in it. And I've got some respect for that. I really do. Even if things aren't going 100% at the moment, he believes that it will, and that, we can get to that level. And I like that. I like the fact that he backs himself. He backs the players. He I don't know, something about that. There's a little bit of like romanticism in that for me, I think, if that makes sense. Like a person that, has come this long way, has clawed their way up the system of, managing in places that people wouldn't consider top. And then he's moved his way up slowly, and everyone says, oh, he's 50 and this is his 55 and this is his first top job. Like, come on. Well, yeah, not everybody takes the same path. And I like that his path has been an interesting one. And I want him to succeed almost for that. I mean, for that reason alone. And because we're Spurs and we want Spurs to succeed. But yeah, I do think that he's adapted some. Has he adapted enough? That's the question. And that's a lot of people will say no. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified to answer that. But I do see the changes that he makes. I do see some adaptation. So.
Can I just add to what Colin said? Nor should he adapt this philosophy Like, if that's what he believes in, that is what he believes in. And fair play to him for carrying on the same way. But, I just want to see him, like, sort of, right, he's got his philosophy. Yes, he's got his philosophy. But when things aren't going right on the pitch, that's when I want to see him tweak it and adapt it, And to me, there's not really been much signs of that happening. Because
our benches are so shit.
Yeah, but that's again, going back to you said our bench is shit, whatever. Yes, it might be, but he made the statement at the start of the season. All the players that have come in, he selected. They're my players. They're my players. That's all he said. Whether that's a club, Mr. Levy told him to say that, I don't know. But, he makes a rod for his own back. This is what I'm saying. But some of the stuff he says, it doesn't help. He doesn't help his case, because he come out and said, all the players that have come in are my players, and I get he doesn't throw them under the bus and all this, but he doesn't help himself by his comments, and like every great manager, like Sean said when he was on it, Man City always played the same way. And Sir Alex Ferguson always played the same way with Man United. But if things weren't going to plan, you would see them. You would see them. Like, he'd point and say, you here, you know what I mean? They would change things. I've seen none of that with Ange. Absolutely none of it. That is what he's got to learn. That his system, yes, if we're all on point, it will work. It will work. It will work, right? But if it isn't working, I'd like to see him tweak things. And it's stubbornness, whatever, he doesn't do it. He doesn't do it. That is
a little bit. Where you say the bench has been shit recently, well, let's not forget we've got 5 first team starters out. So you put 5 back in, and then all of a sudden 5 that are starting the game now are sat on the bench. That bench suddenly becomes stronger. And problem is with everything, it's like Adrian said earlier, when you listen to Ange in his press conferences, most or a lot of the arguments that have been come about is because people have listened to it the wrong way. Ange never said he's going to win something this year because it's his second season. He said, I've always won in my second season, which up until this point is a fact. That word fact, it goes around one of the WhatsApp groups quite a lot. Fact. It is a fact. Did he say he's going to win the title this season? No. I would like to be in a title race next year, is what he said. Didn't say we are going to be. I would like to be. A lot different. And when you watch his press conferences now and people are saying, he's getting narky. Yes, because it's the exact same question every time. Are you going to sort out your set piece defense? Well, we've only conceded 3 goals against set pieces this season so far. So obviously he has changed something. Are you going to do this? Is this going to change? Well, if you actually watch the game, you can see these things have changed. And I just don't get it where people say, he said this. No, he didn't. Listen to what he actually said. You have missed one important word out of the conversation, which changes the whole conversation. Now, will he be successful at this club? I don't know. We keep saying, it's his biggest club. Yeah, it is his biggest club. A lot of managers in the Premiership, it will be their biggest club. But this guy has done national teams. He has done teams in whatever league he's played. He's been successful. Might not be to the level, but the one thing you should take from that is, doesn't matter what level it is, you should be able to learn the game, and you should be able to learn when to make substitutions. You should be able to learn how to change your philosophy. But if every time he's been successful without doing that, he's not going to change now because he believes his system will come right. And that is his problem. Look, how many times has a manager come, say, to Tottenham, and it has been their biggest club. But look, I don't know. I mean, to me,
let's there's a lot of critique on the stubbornness in the system. I just want to add this bit to it, Colin, and you can answer it right now. Well, since we played all these games this season, like Soren said, we've only conceded 3 goals from set pieces. There's only 1 goal being conceded from a breakaway, right? And the other goals we've conceded, this is cup competitions with the league, have all been in a penalty area. About 11 or 12 of them have gone in the left side of our net. And each time in our penalty area, we've had 6, 7, 8 players in the box. Against Fulham, that second goal, we had 8 players in the box, 8 players in the box, right? So that's not about playing a higher line's got nothing to do with that. When you're conceding all these goals in the penalty area, it may contribute to it. You've got to be put down in the penalty area, right? But it may have contributed you dropping back and a cross coming in, but it wasn't like a fault of being caught on the halfway line and coming down, right? And then defending. And then we've had enough numbers in the box. I mean, at Newcastle away, that first goal, they took a quick throw, caught us cold, it come in the box, the guy slips. It was similar to the overhead kick that we conceded recently when Porro and Johnson didn't close the player down. I mean, this is schoolboy stuff. This is what angers me. This is what I'm thinking, well, what are the coaches doing as well? Now, I've seen little tweaks where I've said to the guy next to me, they've tried that free kick on the training ground. You can see them, can't you? And they're defending a different zonal marking or part man marking on corners now, and one defender trying to protect Vicario and all that. Or I don't think Forster needs much protection.
No, that's not a problem that he's going to have.
He's coming at you, he's just going down, right? Seriously, right? You're going to get hurt, right? But that, and I get the way fans are frustrated because I am as well. I mean, the game at Newcastle and Leicester, we should have won them games. We should have run the game at Brighton. That's 9 more points. We'd be lying second in the league. That is the fine margins of when things are going for you.
In all fairness, Adrian, right, the games that we've dropped points in, we could easily, and you think we never should have done.
Yeah.
We could have, we could have been top of the league.
I get the value.
To be honest.
People that don't want Ange, fair enough. But to me, I mean, I look at the system. Okay, how many goals we conceded from the system? Well, 1. I mean, I can question his team selections for away in Europe. I mean, to have 7 changes in the team at Galatasaray to win the home game, which we lost, it felt like 2 defeats to me. It felt like 2 defeats in that one game at home because we'd changed 7 players. Why not just go for it against Galatasaray? We pulled it back to 3-2. They're vulnerable. You can get at them. They are just they're a more Ange ball side than Ange ball is, the way they've thrown men forward, But that's
in all fairness, Adrian, in all fairness, right, the Galatasaray game, when we made them 7 changes, I was more annoyed that we rested the players for Ipswich and we bloody lost that as well.
That's the point I was making.
Yeah.
This game seemed like a double defeat after that. It's like
sorry. I was just going to say, so at what point the manager gets a lot of flack for stuff. Sometimes I think it's the players' fault themselves. You talked about
the bold, Colin, because one thing I will have a pop at Levy for is we didn't do enough work in the summer transfer window. And this talk, I mean, Sean says 400 mil. Show me the figures, because 400 mil spent on who? Who's the 400 mil been spent on? According to Reliable.
I think that's in his entirety, isn't it? I think if you go across the 3 windows, he's probably spent 400 mil.
Yeah, but we're in the second season, right? And the net spend from the last transfer window was 70 mil. So we spent 330 in the previous window.
No, but I think if you look at all the players, forget what's come in, but what's actually been spent on players for him.
It's not 400 mil.
Well, you add it up. You've got Solanke at 60. You've got Johnson, Archie Gray at 40. There's 100 mil already.
35 of add-ons, Gray. Solanke's supposed to be 65 with add-ons, right? But hold on, bear in mind, hold on. This is the whole point again, that these fees are amortized over 5 years, usually with a lump sum down. They're paid on the length of the player.
It's still a figure that you paid for that player.
Oh yeah, you'll put it on your books, right? You'll put it on your books. So Solanke and Gray, right? Let's go mad. Let's say it's 65 and 45, 110.
Yes, and you've got Odegaard.
30.
Then you've got, who else has come in? So we've signed Kulu in his time. Whether you want to class him as, I don't know.
Well, we certainly paid it.
Kulu's before. Yeah. Kulu's before Ange.
Brennan Johnson.
Van de Ven.
No, before Ange.
Van de Ven was before Ange.
Van de Ven
was Ange.
I thought Ange definitely was pulling for Van de Ven. And then we obviously can't forget, why am I blanking on his name? The midfield, Bergvall. Bergvall came in.
Well,
yeah, he was only cheap though. He was cheap on it. He was 10 at the most. If
you add it all up, it's probably there. He's probably not far off.
Well, then have the signings that have been brought in. There haven't been enough, have they? Obviously, but I mean, we know there's holes in the squad. But have they?
I mean, the thing
I can understand. I can argue about the fees if you thought the players weren't good that were brought in, right? All right, Gray looks. I reckon he's oven ready now. I do. I actually believe that. He's proved he's not out of his depth and all that. Then you've got Solanke. Well, he's doing a good job, right?
Regardless of
Odegaard, we don't know because he's injured, right?
I think he's going to be great. Yeah.
And he came from the PSG academy. He went to Burnley, and Vincent Kompany was raving about him. But obviously, and he had the same stats as Nico Williams in Spain. But I took Nico Williams over him every day of the week. But that's because we've seen what Nico Williams could do at international level and all that. But like, if he's as good as him, great. So we don't know about Odegaard. Well, where are the others? I mean, if others, VDV, Johnson. Well, he looks like he's the way he's going. He's looking like he's worth the money. 35 million plus add-ons. He's looking like he's worth the money. I mean, like, he's already got the required amount of goals for a wide player in a season. He's got 10.
Yeah, more than.
Vicario's come under Ange. A
1 in 4 ratio was always considered good for a wide player. He's got his goals already.
Yeah, Maddison, Vicario.
Yeah, with Maddison, it's consistency. Vicario, look, last season when people were voting, funny how Romero's off the scene now with a lot of fans. Last season, people were voting who was their best player, Romero or VDV, and it went to VDV. But to me, I'd give it to Vicario every day, a week, and twice on Sundays. He played every game. He wasn't suspended like Romero. He wasn't out injured like VDV, and he played every game. And some of the saves he's made probably got us lots of points. Took a bit of stick now because of the crossing thing. People have got at him. But now we look like our coaches look to have helped in that area somewhere along the line. He's still a very good goalkeeper. Unless you really go out to someone world class, you ain't really going to get better than Vicario, in my opinion.
I think Vicario is as good as Hugo Lloris. That might be that might anger or trigger some people, but I honestly don't think there's a big drop in quality.
Which Hugo Lloris? Not the one in the last. Yeah, I was going to say the one in the last 2 seasons. That's not difficult.
Right. True. And I guess I am sort of recency bias is kind of getting
as much as we want to say Hugo in his last few seasons, he still saved quite a few good. I mean,
he saved the penalty arm against Man City in the same season. He saved the penalty against Leicester for the Arsenal, the 5-4, and at Arsenal in the 2-2 there or something. He saved the penalty. Mind you, we all ran in the box. That should have been retaken, but who gives a shit, right? It's Arsenal. No one gives a shit. So I mean, like, he could save a penalty, Lloris. But I mean, like, it was a fantastic goalkeeper to be a World Cup winner and stay. I think the only reason he stayed with us because he loved the club and he was a World Cup winner. So he stayed, won the best trophy there is, right? I've got no urgency to further my career. If he hadn't won the World Cup, I think he would have gone. I think
it was a shame how it all ended with him.
That's what I'm sort of hoping with Romero. You've won the World Cup. You won 2 Copa Americas, right? You've won the 2 best trophies you can win, right? Yeah. I mean, all right, I get it if he'd want Champions League.
I think
true.
Where everybody goes on about top 4 isn't a big trophy. I think it is for the players. That's the problem. The players want to play in the Champions League.
The other thing with players, when you get a lot of these BS rumours in the media and all the clickbait what Mark was alluding to earlier, is like, if you've got a player like Mora on a contract to 2008 and Spurs dig their heels in, are Real Madrid going to wait to go and get a fullback? They're not. Right? Same with Romero. If they've got a cheaper option than him, and there will be cheaper options than him out there, because Levy said 150 million when it got mentioned one time. But I mean, like, he's an 80, 90 million pound player. Right? But if Spurs dug their heels in, I don't want to keep players at the club that ain't happy. If they ain't happy, get rid of them. And if you don't want to stay, get rid of them. Don't want to sign a contract. But if you dug your heels in over Romero for another year, that's not going to stop Real Madrid for not going for Saliba or someone else, which they've been rumoured with as well, or someone else.
Cool. Take him away from Arsenal. I think that's a great idea.
We have score updates in the chat, Adrian.
All right. West Ham lost 3-0. Who are they playing?
I will find out for you.
I despise West Ham, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Have you still got your keep sell West Ham going, Colin?
I haven't done it in a long time. I ought to bring it back.
So Lopetegu's job's on the line, isn't it? Yeah. He had the issue with Spain, didn't he? Because he lost a job at his club because he was taking the manager's job at Spain, and he got sacked for them, didn't he?
Well, according to my phone, it hasn't quite finished yet, but Leicester are losing 3-0 at Leicester. Leicester are losing. West Ham are losing 3-0 at Leicester.
Shit.
And Palace beat Ipswich 1-0.
Didn't Leicester win the other day? Leicester's got a decent little run going.
No. Crystal Palace beat Ipswich. Crystal Palace beat Ipswich 1-0.
I kind of have a soft spot for Crystal Palace. It's like they always turn up. I don't know. Like they've always got a player or two that can do damage, and they usually do. So yeah, Palace are an interesting team. They're plucky and fun to watch. I don't know.
Yeah. Good evening, Jose. Jose. I always say Jose. It's Jose.
Good man, Jose is.
Right. Let's move on. Preview Bournemouth versus Spurs. Yeah. Right.
Come on. I'm excited.
Injury woes. Right. Now I've put question marks by these because I don't know. We know Vicaro's out. We know VD's out. Richarlison's definitely out. Obador's definitely out. Don't know about actually more in his virus thing. Just hope it's not long COVID or something like that. Porro, has he got a groin strange? And was Gray a dead leg or his foot like Soren went on about? And Solanke got the virus and Bentancur suspended. So that's a possible. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Probably there's a definite good few out there. Probably 7, 6.
Yeah.
Which doesn't help the situation. But I still blame this to lack of recruitment in the summer. I think we had money. I think one of the genuine reports I read said we spent in the January transfer, it works out about 70 mil net. Now, whether that included all money off wages, that comes into the equation, I'm not quite sure. I think we can safely say, Colin, that this guy will start in goal. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yes, I would say so. And let's we put Archie Gray because he's played everywhere else. But that's my running joke.
I like it though. I like it.
Yeah.
So no, Forrest will definitely be in goal, and I'm feeling better about him as each game goes on. I feel better about him, and I mean that makes sense too because you know you gain momentum.
Just wait till he lets one in, Colin, then the noise levels will go up considerably.
Oh shit, from me too. As long as he dives for it, I'm actually good. As long as he doesn't just fall over and let
let's face it, right? We could have lost against Fulham if it weren't for this man.
Yeah,
we would have lost against Fulham if it weren't for him.
That's a fact. Yeah, he made a wonderful at least one. But
we've got away at a point, really. I mean, Spurs teams a while back would have lost those games recently. So against Roma and Fulham, they would have. But we seem to just find enough. Right. Who's your back four out of these? And I put question marks against people who might be injured and they might not.
I think Porro definitely aggravated his groin area during. We all saw that happen, and keeping him on I thought was strange. I don't know. I wouldn't be sad if we saw Spence over there.
This is another thing. That I question Ange about. Is like Porro was limping about for most of the, a lot of that second half, and it just left him on. Like, just take him off, innit?
Yeah,
I mean,
it seemed like it was the obvious. We all wanted him off.
The player also has to signal to the bench as well. I mean, the player. I mean, maybe Porro wanted to stay on. I don't know.
Yeah,
the same thing. I'm not saying what's right or wrong because I don't know.
No.
But just trying to run something off that's different. If it's not, then the player should be honest and say, "Look, take me off." The player
but in all fairness,
and so should the coaching staff as well.
There aren't many players that are going to do that, is there? There's not that many that are going to make the sign. Like,
there's some tough boys out there, and they want to play.
So, do you expect Romero to come back if he's fit?
I hope not. Because I'd like to see him earn his place in the squad. Dragusin and Davis.
Oh my
both
God.
Both of them against Fulham.
I'm happy with the other two to play, but to me, I would bring Romero in. And I know it's going to make it different. Then you've got to ask me, am I dropping Davis or Dragusin? Because I'd bring Romero in because he progresses the ball through the centre. And if he's not, and the one thing again the last game, Basuma, Romero's not in the team. You should be coming back, taking the ball off the back four.
Yeah.
Right? And then getting us upfield. Like I'm really going off Basuma, right?
I need to rewatch the last match because there were little bits of it where I was like fiddling with my computer trying to get like stream working and stuff. But
the first half was terrible, Colin. The first half was terrible.
I figured out the problem. I got it fixed. Sorry about that. I'll be
No. It was better than nothing, Colin. It was better than watching nothing.
Second half though, I had it.
Yeah,
for sure. So I need to rewatch a bit. But I didn't. Was Basuma that bad? Was he?
I think he had a poor game. Because look, you don't have to see the game to know. You lose the midfield battle, you're looking at Sarr, Basuma, and Maddison, right? Maddison wasn't great either, but Sarr, he was quite disciplined, doing his thing out there.
Yeah, Sarr
does the dirty work. Sarr allows other people to play their game. I think.
In my opinion, in the Fulham game, our three best players were Forster, Davis, and Dragusin.
And Davis is a beast.
And
Dragusin was running back to cover for Porro.
Yeah,
make a few sprints back because Porro's I don't get it with Porro and his experience. Where's your intelligent awareness? You time your runs. You might get the odd one wrong upfield and get caught, but don't get caught upfield on about 4 or 5 runs. You know what I mean? When you're going forward,
Porro cares way more about scoring than defending. Porro wants to be on that score sheet every single match, and you can see it with the way that he plays.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's in
the press conference tomorrow.
Yeah. I'm not sure he's in the chat anymore, but I was going to say my line, but I think Graham's gone. It's like I said, you were talking about Porro. Originally, when he was bought by the club, he was a wing back for Conte's system. He is not a right back. He is a right wing back, which is I'm not saying
into a winger almost. I mean,
a right wing back is almost a winger. Yes, he has some responsibilities.
But usually there's a back three. There's a third defender on the same side. That's covering for him.
But as a right wing back is not as much as if you're a right back. And Porro's marvelous going forward, but defensively, he's
let's be honest,
average at best, I'd say. To be kind to him.
Then you two would stick with Davis and Dragusin, yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
I would, yeah. And Davis has really surprised me. I've always been a staunch defender of Davis.
So have I, Colin.
Yeah, as soon as Conte came in and everyone's like, we need a new left back. We need a new left-sided center back for Conte's system. I said, no, he's going to play Davis there, and he did. And Davis, I
said earlier, the only thing I thought Reguilon was on the bench. You have to make the numbers up because we had 2 young defenders on the bench in Mason King and Malika Hardy, right? But and I thought his regular on the bench is Udogie, who hasn't been at his best this season. He'll come back. He'll be good. He's got too much quality. But Will was regular on the bench because Udogie might not quite be 100%. I mean, we don't know, do we?
Well, he's played nearly every game, hasn't he?
Regular, there must be something behind the scenes. Like I said, he's had all those loans. He's clearly wanted out of the club. I don't think Reguilon's got a future with us at all. And
no,
I don't either.
I don't think we'll see him on the field.
Evening, Robbie.
So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Spence and Porro gets a rest, even if he's got a slight pull or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've been Davis's greatest defender. Like a few years ago, he was always chucked in the same bracket as Eric Dyer. You know, rubbish, get him out, Deadwood. But Ben Davis, he's your 6 out of 10 player. He's never a 9. I'll get that in there. He's never a 9, but on the other hand, he's never a 2. He's that 6, Mr. Consistency, Mr. Consistent. Yes, probably.
Plays wherever you ask him to.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
yes. Probably now he is a squad player. But when he comes in, he does his bit. And against Fulham, him and Dragusin and Forster, equally man of the match. I'm not sure who got it for us. Probably none of them. But like, you know, he's Mr. Consistent.
Absolutely.
Right. So
I love him. I love the guy.
Left,
He doesn't
unless
wages.
Gray goes down. It's got to be Doggy weight of them.
Yeah, I would say you're probably right, unless Porro plays and they stick Spence over there, which is a possibility. But what's Spence got to do to get himself some game time?
Who knows?
I would love to be a fly on the wall. I would love for this season to be the season where
Rangers away in the Europa League at the moment. That's all you're looking at. We only got league games and we've got Man United obviously at home.
Spence isn't in the European squad.
He's not.
No, he's
correct.
No,
I would love for this year to be the year for the documentary. It would have been so cool to see some behind the scenes stuff now, because I feel like there's so much we're just not privy to, and it makes it hard to even speculate on sometimes.
Yeah, that's 1,000,000% as well. His experience.
Yeah, you either have to have elite positioning or speed, kind of, to be a great defender. And I think that he makes up for his lack of speed with his positioning for sure.
I could see Spence in for Porro. It's a question of left back, and I think you're going to keep burning your Doggy out or give him a rest. I mean, you might see Gray at left back.
You could put Davis at left back, and you could play Romero if he's fit. I mean, it's not ideal. You know what I mean? But like
Davis certainly ain't got the pace to go.
It's not a bad call. We are away from home. Davis
certainly hasn't got that pace to go charging up and doing what the inverted fullback. No,
he
can't
stay back a lot.
Well, that's good. Well, that's good.
He doesn't have to necessarily, does he? He doesn't have to.
Yeah.
I mean, when Gray's played at fullback, he has got forward, but he's not noticeably that often.
And I think with any system where you have a fullback going forward, I think I think one should stick back. I think it should be if one fullback's going to bomb forward, the other one should kind of fall back to help keep that defensive shape.
I've said this many times on this show, Colin, that like when both of them go, we're just wide open at the back because we haven't got that 6 and we'll sit in and make a
step back to do the Wanyama, to do the
to do the Dembele role. When Walker and Rose used to go charging up the pitch and they were fantastic, like you had Dembele and Wanyama sometimes that would sit in and make the back 4 up, but it is who we are, mate.
Wanyama didn't have a lot. He was quite limited as a player in my opinion, in what I saw of him. But what he did do, he did great. And we could use a player like that, even with the limited skills, just to be kind of that stopper of a player. I think he could. A player like that would be good for us.
But let's face it, Wanyama was just a brick wall.
Yeah. Oh shoot!
No one went through it.
That goal versus Liverpool, I'll never forget it either.
Nice goal. That was against Liverpool, wasn't it?
It never took the net off. It was that bloody hard. If it never went in the net, it'd still be going around the earth now. It would have gone into orbit.
Absolutely.
Who's going to be the midfield 3 guys? You got to me, Sarr has to start, but
yes,
you won't tire him out, right? I'm worried about him playing too many games. But
you are? Is that what you said, or you are not?
No, I'm not. I'm not worried about Sarr playing lots of games.
He seems like he doesn't ever seem fatigued to me. He's
No.
got an Energizer Bunny battery or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Do you think I would actually see Gray start alongside Sarr here?
Bournemouth are a sensible team, though, aren't they?
They're no mugs.
They've already beaten City and Arsenal at home.
They play a higher line as well and a press. They do the same.
Good. That's better. We play better against teams that do that. So I'm happy.
Yeah, we beat them twice last year. I mean, I think they've beaten us twice since they've been back in the Premier League. We have got a good
but that was the Bournemouth of last season. That they're slightly different this season.
Yeah.
They're flying at the moment.
I honestly think that we're going to come out guns a-blazing, and I could see a midfield of Sarr, Madison, and Kulu. I really could. I know it's rather light, but that hasn't stopped Ange before, So
I want to see Sarr in there definitely, because like at the start when this channel started, I always said that Sarr, he ran about a lot and he didn't actually do much, just apart from running around. But this season, certainly, he has stepped up and he's producing now. He's but probably I would say Sarr's virtually one of the first names on the sheet now. The way he's going this season.
The good thing about this game, whichever way it goes, knowing how form it is, because they just scored 4 goals at Wolves, haven't they?
Yeah.
So they will come at us, and that is good because that will suit us.
Yeah.
That will suit us. Whether it works for us or not is another matter, but it will suit us.
To be honest, Adrian, it might be like Man City where we got to sit back a little bit deeper than them quick passes and we're up the other end and we score.
Oh, man. Some of those one-touch passes.
Exactly.
Right? Oh, my God. Beautiful. If we played every game like we played against Man City, I wouldn't be upset in the
I was calling for that on this channel. I was calling for that on here. Play like we do against no matter who we're playing against. I know that contradicts what I said about adapting and changing things, but
that was a good. I mean, if everybody's on song like that. Sorry, what did you say, Adrian?
I said, go on, Karen. Something you're saying. I was just said Bentancur was a big loss for us. I think.
No, you're 100%.
Back to his pre-ACL injury form he was showing, which is
yeah.
Well, on this,
we've got to that number 6. I mean, so here's my thing. If we don't have a proper striker ready, I think that Kulu needs to play as on the right. If we don't have Solanke back in, because he can hold the ball up, he can get other players involved. When we had Sonny and Brennan,
we'll come to that in a bit because I've got Kulu on the striking list as well because we don't know where he's actually going to take the position. So if we pick the midfielders.
Sarr, Basuma, and Madison. Unfortunately, I don't want Basuma. I don't want
Basuma. Yeah. Well, yes. I want to see Kulu out on the right, because he does help Porro out. Unlike, I know I'm chairman of JDL, but Brennan Johnson will not get back and help Porro.
It's an away game. Like I thought even Werner. I'm not a Werner fan, but. He does track. He does track back more than Johnson. I think we might have been. Well, can you be too harsh on Werner anyway? But I thought maybe we overdid it with a critique, really. Yeah. So, front 3.
There we go.
Now, is Son needing a rest in this game? I mean,
yes, please.
I think we're all going for Kulu on the right. That's fine.
Yeah.
If Solanke ain't fit, do we put Lancashire in?
I would.
Yeah. You need some sort of a physical presence at striker, right?
Yeah, he's a big lad.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll go Werner, Son, and Johnson again. That didn't quite work, did it?
No.
So, either as Lancashire as the fulcrum. So we're saying Kulu definitely on the right. Who's on the left? Son. I think Son would probably start, actually.
Do you?
You still got Johnson and Werner. Johnson can play over that side if he's forced to.
I'm not being funny, Adrian. I think as great as Sonny has been, and obviously we all love him here, but I think Sonny's definitely he's approaching the end of his career. I wouldn't say he's finished because he's definitely not.
I don't know.
He's got a moments. He's a moments type of player.
He is now. He is now. I will get this in straight away. He is still the best finisher at the club.
Yeah.
Right.
But I decided, and the same with Ange as well. Don't want to rinse and repeat and keep Ange to the season no matter what, because we still got to strengthen the squad. With Sonny, the goal. Well, when Sarr put him through for the 4th goal against West Ham, he didn't seem to be lacking anything there. I mean, we see this is the thing with transparency.
Father time is catching up, though. But Father time is catching up, though, Adrian.
That'll get everybody.
Yeah. It could be right on that, or don't know. Maybe he's carrying a slight knock, or maybe he's got.
But
I mean, we don't know.
I see Son now, like Colin said, more of a last 20 minutes impact sub. You know, I mean,
I think it'd be a fantastic impact sub when Ange gets to that decision of doing.
Yeah. But he's club captain, Adrian.
Yeah.
You know, so
you pick him.
I mean,
he's fit. You pick him.
Exactly. But it's like I've said as well. This is another thing you must bring into the conversation with Son. He's here for the shirt sales. You know, that's basic. You know, because how much money does he drag in through the club shop? You know, I mean, I've never been in the club shop. Let's get that out there, right? I've never been in there, but I've seen pictures from in there, and they got like the home kit, the away kit, the third kit, right, the home kit, the away kit, and the third kit, and you can buy them with the player already on the back. There is 20 times more Sun kits than there are any other player, even Madison and Van der Ven and people like that. There's 20 times more Sun kits than there are. I bet Sonny outsells shirts in that club shop. I bet he sells somewhere up around 50% of the shirts in there. They have with Son's name on the back.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, somewhere like that. So it's a guess. I've not looked into it. But, you know, the amount of money he drags in this club, just, you know, it's not just by the people coming over to see him. You know, I mean, I don't go to the ground very often, but when I do, the amount of Korean flags you see.
Oh, yeah.
They're literally everywhere in the high street. Everywhere.
So we sort of decided on Son, Solanke, Kulusevski, or Son Lancashire.
I'd put Lancashire in.
I would too, but I'm gonna go real wild, and I honestly would prefer Werner to start. Bring Sonny on, but I know that won't happen.
He
It'll
may
be
do
the other way
that.
around.
Yeah, I mean, Werner can't finish anything, but he's got the pace. You know,
and some vision. We saw with that assist that he had. You know what I mean, that was a wonderful ball played in.
Yeah, if Bournemouth come onto us and we are forced to sit back, that is where I want to see that quick passing, 2 or 3 passes and we're at the other end. And this is where you need Werner and his pace to beat the right back. You know, whip the ball in if he can. I'm just saying, like right. if he can.
Depends on the day and the time.
Yeah.
It's going. Carry on, Mark.
No, I was going to say half the time he'd probably kick it out the ground because I know Bournemouth's only a smallish stadium.
Well, we haven't got to worry about the 2-4 yellow cards yet, unless Bentancur gets his 7-match ban reduced, which I'm hoping he does, to about 3 or 4, which I think would be fair.
But to be honest, Adrian, there's 7-match ban for Bentancur. How many has he done now? I mean, if they don't sort... Oh, is it? Is that it? I was going to say, if they don't sort it out soon, he'd done his 7. And then they say, oh, well, we'll reduce it. We'll reduce it by a game, but he's already done it. You know, and with the amount of league games we've got coming up, his 7 matches might be up by like Christmas.
Why the hell? My bitch with that is why did it take so long to get that?
Exactly.
They waited until our busiest time of the season.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think there's an agenda there, but again, I'm a Spurs fan. You know, it's easy to think you're being persecuted when maybe you're not.
Yeah.
But I do think that was a little strange, a little fishy.
Yeah, it seems a bit convenient that they suddenly announced a 7-match suspension just as our busiest time is. Just as our busiest time's coming up. I mean, do it after Christmas, you know, where the games are a bit more spread out.
6 league games. Oh, and the League Cup, of course, that covers the yellow cards
Yeah.
as well. So there's 7 games. Well, they've got to try and get through without getting 5 yellow cards. Not going to happen. Not in midfield. You're going to pick them up. And this is another, and that would then stretch the squad again if either of them get a ban.
You guys, you're gonna hate me. I got to go pretty soon. My wife is here.
Yeah, we're ended anyway. Right? We're
perfect.
Right. So I want to thank the guests, Johnny. I want to thank Sean for coming on, making his debut. We'll get him back hopefully.
And I haven't seen Sean in forever.
Thanks, Soren, and yourself, Colin, and Mark.
I've just put in right. Yep. I've just put Colin's link in the chat again. Right. There you go.
I appreciate you.
Please sub to that.
And Sean's as well.
Yeah. I can't copy.
Everyone go over and sub to that.
Yeah, I can't copy and paste.
Spurs Talk Show.
Yeah, Spurs Talk Show. It's in the chat somewhere, but I can't copy and paste that off the chat, mate. Because if I try and copy and paste it, it will. If I try and copy and paste it, it brings it up on the screen.
Right. So
I'm useless on computers. I don't know.
Sean's.
Yeah. Just type that in YouTube.
Yeah, you just type that and go to Spurs Talk. So he does walks. He does walks with his beautiful dog, Bugsy Malone, Black Springer Spaniel. Beautiful.
I'm pretty certain, though, that most people, I would say all people that are in this chat tonight are subscribed to Sean anyway.
Yeah. We'll come back to Colin's chat here.
Yeah.
He does sort of regular shows. They sort of move about a bit, but he does shows anyway. You'll find him if you
hit that bell. Hit the bell, and you'll see when we're going live.
Yeah, like, subscribe, and all that stuff.
And to this lovely channel. I mean, if you're here, I'm sure you're subscribed and stuff as well. But if by any chance you made it over here and you're not, then subscribe up, everybody.
So, like I say, I want to thank everyone in the chat, those that have stayed with us this length of time, and those that were on us that may have disappeared but might be watching the end of the show on playback. Yeah, I'd like to say thank all my guests. And if you like the content, please subscribe to the channel, give the videos a thumbs up, and we will play you out with this. It ain't clicking. Why ain't it working?
Technical difficulties.
No, I'll do it down this.